This is the story of a boy named Usukura Taishi, an F-ranker in a world filled with dungeons, monsters, and magic. As a child, he once met a slime named Perun, but for certain reasons he had to leave it behind. Years later, he is forced by his school bullies to enter an SS-ranked dungeon, where he unexpectedly reunites with Perun, who has now grown into the strongest slime with an SS rank. Taishi forms a contract with it, marking the beginning of their journey to survive by conquering dungeons. Along the way, they deepen their bond and face countless challenges together. The story follows a boy named Usukura Taishi, who dreams about his childhood and a yellow slime named Perun. He cared deeply for Perun, but for some reason he had to leave him behind, terrified and alone. Taishi suddenly wakes up in his classroom and wonders why that dream is coming back to him now. A group of unpleasant-looking boys appears and starts bullying him, mocking him for being an F rank and asking if he finished the task they gave him. Another boy steps forward, also unattractive but clearly the leader. His name is Kasai, and with his blonde hair and sharp demeanor, he looks like Kisaki from Tokyo Revengers. He moves in to make the bullying worse. Just as he is about to use magic, a girl named Akazuki Karin steps in. She is as stunning as Violet Evergarden and firmly tells him to stop, warning that she will report him because using magic in class is against the rules. Her act of courage to protect Taishi catches everyone off guard. The other students begin teasing her, joking that she must have feelings for Taishi. Karen is well known around school for her beauty and receives plenty of love confessions from boys, but this moment puts her in an awkward spotlight. Kasai, clearly irritated, reminds her that she is a D rank while he is C rank and claims he can force her to submit. However, Karin is not like the typical fragile heroines who cry when a boy yells at them. She stands her ground unshaken. Their banter would keep going if the teacher does not enter the classroom and instruct everyone to sit on the chairs. Today, the lesson covers the history of dungeons. The teacher asks whether anyone knows where the dungeons first appear, yet no one answers, which he expects since accurate information still does not exist. He explains that several decades ago, dungeons, monsters, and magic suddenly appear on Earth and completely change human society. Some dungeons bring harmful effects while others offer benefits, drive new industries, and give humanity rare opportunities. After their arrival, people embrace a new goal: conquer every dungeon and reshape the world, a mission that signals the start of a new era. Acting like a career counselor, the teacher advises the class to decide what they wish to become. Whether they clear dungeons, hunt high-ranked monsters, or dual-ranked hunters, they will earn experience points and raise their ranks. While he speaks, Taishi feels déjà vu, as though he has heard all of this before. The students begin chatting about their future paths, and the teacher, pleased by their excitement, promises that Hanatsuki High School will become famous for producing top-ranked hunters. One student catches Taishi's attention by asking if defeating a monster inside an SS-ranked dungeon lets someone reach S rank at once. The question stirs the room and everyone starts fantasizing about instant promotion. Their excitement fades when the teacher explains that the SS-ranked dungeon is a top-level zone that remains unconquered and cloaked in secrecy, filled with many S-rank monsters. He adds that numerous elite adventurers attempt it but fail. Students from F rank up to C rank cannot even approach the entrance. A hush settles as they realize they have underestimated the place. The teacher then asks proudly whether anyone has entered a ranked dungeon before. Taishi raises his hand and states that he did when he was a child. Seeing an introvert with an F rank claim such a feat, the class mocks him and says he does not need to invent stories to look brave. Stung by the jeers, Taishi slams his desk and shouts that he tells the truth. He really went into an SS dungeon. His sudden resolve startles everyone, and the blonde boy grows even more irritated. After some time, Taishi sits alone on a bench in the schoolyard, deep in thought about his childhood. Suddenly, Karin appears and slumps down beside him on the bench, startling him. Noticing how lost he looks, she gently asks what he is thinking about. He replies that he was just reflecting on old memories. Their quiet moment is interrupted by the arrival of the same group of ugly boys who bullied him earlier. Seeing Taishi and Karin sitting together, they start teasing him, asking if the two of them are really dating. Kasai throws a camera into Taishi's lap and demands that he take a photo of the SS-ranked dungeon. That, he says, is the only way they will believe Taishi's claim. Karin's face tightens with anger at Kasai's smug attitude. She threatens to report him to the teacher, but before she can finish, Taishi cuts her off and agrees to Kasai's condition. Karin looks at him with worry and tries to stop him, but Taishi thanks her for always standing up for him and also apologizes for not listening this time. He has made up his mind. He does not just want to prove he entered the SS-ranked dungeon. He wants to save Perun too. Kasai smirks and tells Taishi that if he fails to bring back proof, he will have to become Kasai's toy for life. Without hesitation, Taishi agrees. In the end, Taishi rides his bicycle straight toward the SS-ranked dungeon. Taishi stands before the intimidating SS-ranked dungeon, gathers his courage, and steps inside. He records every moment with the camera, while calling out for Perun. A sudden rustle nearby sparks hope that Perun might be close, yet his heart sinks when he spots a timid bunny-type monster instead. Taishi crouches beside the creature, asking softly if it is alone, and he thinks that Perun must feel lonely as well. The small monster turns into a butterfly and flutters around him while Taishi scans the gloomy cavern, recalling how this place once filled his younger self with fear. Just as he begins to relax, a flying dragon monster swoops down from behind and strikes him, hurling him across the ground and leaving him injured. Before he can gather his thoughts, the monster launches a second assault. It mocks him for daring to enter an SS-ranked dungeon without fighting back. This creature is far from mindless. It smashes the camera that Taishi brought and continues to taunt him. Staring at the broken camera, Taishi sinks into despair as memories of the bullying at school flood his mind. Then resolve burns inside him. He decides he will hunt this monster because he is tired of being labeled trash. He grabs a wooden stick lying nearby. He vows not to leave until he finds his beloved yellow slime, Purun. His determination mirrors that of Takemichi from Tokyo Revengers, who rises after every defeat to reclaim the love of his life. Taishi steps forward, yet his newfound courage crumbles when the dragon monster blasts him with magic and wounds him deeply. The creature inhales, ready to unleash a stream of fire. Taishi feels helpless and watches his hope fade. At that moment, lightning crashes from the sky and strikes the dragon monster, roasting it instantly. Shocked, Taishi approaches the charred beast to see what caused the bolt. His eyes widen with joy when he spots Purun hovering above the fallen dragon. Purun gazes back at him with an irresistible charm that would make anyone swoon. Overwhelmed, Taishi celebrates the reunion with the friend he has longed to save. Taishi remembers the day he first met Purun during his very first field trip. The scene shifts to the past, where a younger Taishi visits an amusement park with his family to watch the grand parade. He is full of joy, laughing and enjoying the lively atmosphere with his parents. Among the performers in the parade is Karin, dressed as a princess, and Taishi's parents gush over her, surprised that she is the same age as their son. As the event continues, the monster march begins. The sight and sounds of the growling monsters terrify young Taishi. He nervously asks his parents if they can go watch something else. They try to calm him down by explaining that the monsters are just dolls. However, the deafening roars from the parade overwhelm him, and fear takes over. He panics and runs away from the crowd. While sprinting through the crowd, he accidentally bumps into Karin, causing her to fall. He quickly apologizes but does not stop for long. Without giving her another glance, he continues running, leaving Karin sitting there with a confused look on her face. While running from the parade, Taishi does not even realize that he has wandered into the forest. Still shaken, he wonders why he is so afraid of monsters in the first place. When he finally looks up and notices the trees surrounding him, panic sets in. He begins crying and calling out for his parents, but the rain suddenly starts pouring down, drenching him as he stumbles through the woods in search of shelter. Eventually, he finds a dungeon entrance and steps inside to escape the storm. Inside, he explores with caution until he spots a yellow slime facing away from him. Taishi's eyes light up with excitement at the sight of a real slime, and he moves in a little closer. However, his joy quickly fades when he notices a massive king buffalo monster glaring at the slime. Terrified, Taishi immediately turns and tries to sneak out before the buffalo notices him. Meanwhile, the adorable little slime Puron stands frozen with tears in its eyes. Overwhelmed by the size of the monstrous buffalo, Taishi feels helpless, unsure of what to do, and as he takes a few steps to leave, something stops him. He remembers seeing a Puron model in the parade earlier. That memory makes him pause. Just as the buffalo opens its enormous, grotesque mouth to swallow the slime, Taishi rushes in and saves Puron, throwing himself between them. The buffalo lets out a furious roar. Taishi introduces himself to Perun and says that the only way scaredy cats like them can survive is by running. Without hesitation, he scoops Perun into his arms like a pet dog and dashes out of the dungeon. Their escape is not easy. Many monsters try to block their way, but Taishi keeps running with all his strength. Along the way, he asks the slime its name, and in the cutest, most cheerful tone, it replies and introduces itself as Perun. The two instantly bond and become friends. Feeling proud of his brave act and wanting to stay with his new companion, Taishi decides to take Perun back and make a contract. But when he returns to his parents, his excitement fades as they scold him. They tell him he is too young to make a contract and should not bring back monsters. With tears in his eyes, Taishi walks Perun back outside the dungeon. He sees that Perun looks hungry, so he offers him some bread, which Perun happily eats. Taishi continues to cry, knowing he cannot take Perun with him because he is too weak. He gently promises that one day he will return to make a contract with him after becoming stronger. With that, he says goodbye. Perun walks back into the dungeon with a bright smile, but from behind, Taishi sees the loneliness in him. Later, Taishi learns that the place where he met Perun is actually an S-ranked dungeon. If he wants to make a contract with Perun, he must grow stronger, but he has no power or skills to help him. 6 years pass and Taishi remains the same. Nothing changes. He is still an F rank. But things are different for Perun, who becomes very strong. The scene returns to the present, where Taishi holds Perun in his arms and showers him with affection. Perun still has the same cuteness as before, but now he has a scar above his eyebrow that gives him a cool bad boy look. Tears well up in Taishi's eyes as he finally reunites with Perun after so long. He is amazed to see how powerful Perun has become, while he is still weak and unable to form a contract. Perun climbs onto Taishi's shoulder and snuggles into his neck as if urging him to make the contract. Taishi refuses, saying he is still too weak to stay by his side, but Perun suddenly uses his magic and Taishi's appearance changes. He turns into a handsome, beautiful boy. A scar forms over his eyebrow, making it seem as if Perun has possessed him. A glowing status window appears in front of him, asking if he wants to make a contract with Perun and inherit his powers. Taishi stands in shock, speechless at what just happened. Taishi is completely baffled by what just happened, but when he sees how excited Perun is to form a contract with him, he smiles and gladly accepts. A flash of lightning shoots across the sky, and in the next moment Taishi returns to his original innocent self. He feels no changes in his body, and Perun is nowhere to be seen. Just then a memory flashes in his mind. His teacher once told the class that it is impossible to negotiate with monsters stronger than oneself. Feeling disappointed by his weakness, Taishi sighs, but suddenly Perun cheerfully pops up above his head. Taishi lets out a breath of relief, overjoyed that he did not lose him. He quickly apologizes to Perun, saying he could not form the contract because he is still too weak. At that moment, Perun does something with his eyes that startles Taishi. Suddenly, he gains the ability to see other status information. He immediately checks and is shocked to discover that Perun is an SS-ranked monster, while the dragon he defeated earlier was SS-ranked. Taishi asks if seeing other stats is one of Perun's abilities, but the adorable little slime does not respond. He is too busy drooling while eyeing the grilled dragon monster. Perun stares at the dragon with so much hunger that it looks like he could swallow it in one bite. Watching this, Taishi recalls seeing monster meat being sold before and starts wondering how anyone could store something so massive. Then he remembers reading the ability store in Perun's status window. He quickly orders Perun to store the dragon. Perun transforms into a giant slime and opens his mouth wider than ever, swallowing the dragon whole in one smooth gulp. Taishi watches in amazement, then crouches to gently coo at his old friend. Perun enjoys the attention, and the two begin chatting as they walk, reminiscing about their first meeting. While they continue their walk, Perun senses something behind them and turns around. Taishi follows his gaze and freezes in horror. Behind them stands a terrifying creature known as the Queen Spider, with a grotesque human face planted on a giant spider's body. Without warning, it lunges at them. Perun reacts instantly and covers Taishi's body, transforming into a full slime suit that wraps around him like armor. They begin running, with the queen spider chasing close behind, spraying deadly poison that melts through the rock around them. Taishi and Perun come to a stop, and Taishi warns his friend to be careful. Perun detaches and moves toward the queen spider's head, and Taishi immediately realizes that must be its weak spot. But before Perun can act, the queen spider grins and fires her poison directly at him. The attack lands, and Perun appears to melt before Taishi's eyes. Just when it seems like everything is lost, Taishi's body glows and transforms back into his handsome form. In one swift move, he slashes all of the queen spider's legs with his blade. During the battle, Taishi realizes the contract with Perun must have succeeded after all. With confidence, he leaps forward and slices the queen spider's head clean off. As the battle ends, both Perun and Taishi return to their original forms. Together they continue walking through the dungeon, laughing and talking about their wild adventure. Taishi arrives home with Perun riding along on his bicycle and immediately notices that the house is in total chaos. It looks exactly like how a room does after a bunch of girls finish getting ready for a wedding, as if they were never planning to come back. While Taishi rushes to clean up the mess, Perun excitedly bounces around the room, exploring every corner. Embarrassed by the state of the place, Taishi tries to tidy up quickly. As Perun continues exploring, it stops in front of some framed photographs. They are pictures of Taishi's late parents. Taishi gently explains that they passed away and that he now lives alone. While lighting incense sticks in front of the photos, he looks a little stressed, but Perun chirps up cheerfully, trying to brighten the mood. Taishi smiles, genuinely happy to have Perun with him again. Out of nowhere, Perun begins making strange noises. Taishi quickly guesses that it must be hungry, so he heads to the fridge to find something to eat. Inside, he finds only a lonely jar of kepi mayonnaise. He sighs and tells Perun that he's out of money for the month. As he wonders if they'll end up eating just the mayo, Perun suddenly transforms into a black dragon, attempting to explain that it has a whole dragon stored. Taishi immediately catches on and suggests that since monster meat is sold as food in the market, they might be able to cook it if they follow proper instructions. He wonders how they can release the stored dragon, and questions whether giving Perun a direct order would work. But the idea of releasing a full-size dragon in a residential area makes his heart skip a beat. He imagines houses getting flattened in seconds. Panicked, he pleads with Perun to handle it carefully. Perun nods and slices off a piece of the dragon's tail, just enough for one meal. Taishi grabs a kitchen knife, thinking he can prepare it like any other meat. But the moment he tries to cut it, the knife snaps in two. He stares in shock, realizing it's SS-ranked monster meat, way too tough for an ordinary knife. Turning around, he sees Perun almost melting from hunger, looking completely drained. As he watches, Taishi wonders how his little slime friend became so strong that he could take down such a powerful monster. He figures there must be a whole story behind it, but decides not to press right now. They will have plenty of time to talk later. With no other option, he looks to Puron and asks for help. Puron lights up, happy to assist, and gets ready to cut the meat himself. After some time, Taishi and Puron sit around the table with a variety of savory dishes spread out in front of them. Taishi smiles and tells Puron not to worry if he can't finish everything, reassuring him that it's okay. Hearing this, Puron becomes even more cheerful and excited. However, Taishi quickly begins to regret those words. In an instant, Puron devours every single dish on the table, plates included. Taishi stares in disbelief, shocked that Puron is still hungry, even after eating so much. Determined to keep his promise, Taishi gets up and heads to the kitchen to make more food. Once the second round is ready, Puron gulps it down just as quickly, but the hunger still isn't gone. Taishi prepares an even larger batch of food, more than ever before, and sets it in front of him. Yet again, Puron devours it without hesitation. In the end, Puron eats enough to fill the stomach of an entire dragon. Finally, after what seems like an endless feast, he lets out a content sound and sits back, completely satisfied. The next morning, Taishi prepares for school, and as he brushes his teeth, he frets about their food budget and the hunting he will need to do to keep them fed. Yet simply being with Puron fills him with joy, so he gladly plans to cook for his friend. After he slips on his coat, he glances at Puron, who still sleeps on the bed, and he steps closer. Watching the slime rest so peacefully, he thinks with delight that the Puron he searched for so long is right here on his own pillow. The moment feels unreal because when Puron is beside him, he feels as if he has found a missing family member. He considers waking Puron so they can head to school together, but memories of the bullying he endures there flood back. Worried that Puron will feel disappointed if it sees his weak side, he decides to leave alone. As he turns to go, Puron stirs, climbs onto his shoulder and nuzzles his cheek. Taishi strokes him gently and explains that breakfast is ready, so Puron should eat while he is gone. He adds that he will pick up ingredients for dinner on his way home. Hearing this, Puron starts squealing like a spoiled child. Taishi tries to calm him and says he cannot bring him to school, but Puron only cries harder. With no other option, Taishi agrees to take him along, provided that Puron stays hidden inside his bag. Taishi reaches the school, and while he walks across the grounds, Kasai and his two unpleasant friends stride up to him. Kasai drapes an arm over Taishi's shoulder, and with an arrogant smirk points out that before class they need to settle the promise they made last time. He snaps his fingers and orders Taishi to follow him. Kasai and the other boys drag Taishi into a corner and kick him hard, making him fall to the ground. They sneer and mock him, asking if he had fun playing hero in an SS-ranked dungeon. Taishi slowly gets back up, clutching his bag tightly. His expression is calm, confident, and nothing like his usual self. He looks them in the eye and replies that yes, he did have fun and it was all thanks to them. His answer angers the bullies even more. They demand the footage they had asked for earlier. At that moment, Taishi suddenly remembers the camera that was broken by the monster during his trip. He freezes, realizing he completely forgot about it. Panic sets in as he wonders how he will pay them back, especially since he has already run out of money for the month. Taishi stays silent, and Kasai's temper boils over. He steps forward and prepares to hit Taishi with magic. Just then, Puron bursts out of the bag, catching everyone by surprise. Kasai and his friends laugh, thinking it is just a weak, ordinary slime. Confident in their power, Kasai releases his magic to attack Taishi, but this time Taishi channels his own magic with Puron's help. A flash of energy erupts as Taishi counters Kasai's attack, forcing him down to his knees. The sudden clash stuns the bullies. Watching their leader struggle, the others rush in to attack, but Taishi easily blocks their punches with swift movements. His calm yet powerful presence leaves the bullies shaken. For the first time, they see a side of Taishi that terrifies them. Meanwhile, rumors of the fight quickly spread throughout the school. Karin hears the whispers and rushes to the scene, only to find Taishi standing in front of Kasai with a cold and threatening look in his eyes. He demands that Kasai apologize for all the bullying if he wants to be saved. Without realizing it, Taishi is now wearing the same expression the bullies once wore, feeling a dangerous sense of superiority. Kasai, furious and humiliated, stands up and tries to strike back. Taishi steps forward with a terrifying intent, his presence so overwhelming that it feels unnatural. Just as he is about to land a blow on Kasai, Karin jumps in to stop him, and his attack ends up injuring her. Karun reacts instantly and crashes into Kasai, sending him flying into his friends. Taishi turns to Karin and reaches out his hand to help her, but she pushes it away and tells him he cannot become like the bullies. She reminds him that he is a kind person. Her words hit Taishi deeply. In that moment, he realizes he has turned into the very thing he hated. Just like Eren, who hated the Titans but became one, Taishi sees that a little power has already made him hurt someone he cares about. He quietly apologizes to Karin and tells her to go to the nurse's office. She shakes her head and says she is fine and that they should head to class. Before they can move, Kasai attacks again. This time, Taishi speaks the World Seal, a word that activates his power and immediately suppresses Kasai's strength. Much like how Toge Inumaki uses cursed speech in Jujutsu Kaisen, Taishi tells Kasai that his power has been sealed, and that if he wants it back he will have to find him. The bullies, frightened and speechless, run away. Afterward, Taishi tears a piece of his uniform and wraps it gently around Karen's arm to stop the bleeding. Karen tells him not to ruin his clothes, but he replies that it is fine because he is quitting school today. He thanks her sincerely for always being there for him, then turns and walks away in silence, his heart heavy. The next day, Taishi, dressed casually, comes to the office to complete his school withdrawal process. Students notice his presence at the office since it is so unexpected, and they begin whispering and trying to figure out why he is dropping out. The troublemaker trio behaves unusually that day, sitting quietly in class because they realize they are in trouble and feel irritated. On his way home, Taishi runs into Karen. He suddenly asks if she has treated her injury. Karen assures him there's no need to worry and says she already got it taken care of. Still feeling bad, Taishi apologizes again, insisting that he never meant to hurt her. Karen smiles and reassures him that she is fine, even showing him her arm to make him feel better. Taishi then asks why she was standing at the school gate. Karen explains that she left school due to urgent business. When she asks about the withdrawal process, Taishi interrupts and tells her it wasn't difficult, and that the staff seemed to have been expecting it. With a saddened expression, Karen asks him to keep attending school, and questions why he feels the need to leave so badly. Taishi thanks her for her concern but firmly says that returning is not possible. She got hurt because of him. After gaining so much power, he failed to control it properly. He fears that if something like today happens again, he might end up putting the entire school in danger. So in the end, staying in school after all these incidents would only be selfish. To use this power the right way, he needs to become a proper ranker. Karen believes that he must be feeling lonely, and it must be hard for him to carry that weight alone. Just then, Perun pops out of his bag and cheerfully assures her that there's no need to worry as long as Perun is with him. Seeing this, Karen realizes the true source of Taiheshi's strength. She believes in him and supports the path he has chosen for himself. Taiheshi knows that Karen has helped him many times and wants to do something in return. Before parting ways, they exchange numbers and promise to stay in touch. As she walks away, she turns back and says goodbye with a smile. Shortly after, Taiheshi receives a call from an unknown number. A voice on the other end tells him to save the number and reminds him to repay the kindness, making it clear who the caller is. She has been trying to tell him for a long time but has never found the right words. Now she finally manages to say that she has believed in him from the very beginning. She also adds that she is glad he returned safely from the SS rank dungeon, then ends the call. Her words make Taishi blush. On his way, he feels incredibly happy, knowing that the heir of the Akazuki group, who also works as the group's exclusive model and is one of the most popular girls at school, is on his side. Meanwhile, Perun, sitting on his shoulder, seems a little jealous. At the same time, Karen sits quietly in her car and makes a call to ask about her mother's condition. The person on the other side of the line tries to calm her down, telling her not to worry and that everything will get better. Even in this tough situation, Karen keeps thinking positively and remains confident that her mother will recover. Now that Taishi and Perun are free for the day, they walk around aimlessly. Since he is no longer a student, Taishi thinks about planning his next steps and considers doing a part-time job to cover his living expenses. As he thinks this through, Perun's stomach growls loudly from his shoulder, clearly hungry. To handle that, Taishi checks his account balance first. Thankfully, it is enough to afford a good meal. They enter a restaurant, and Taishi tells the staff how many people they are. He also warns them that the little guy with him eats more than most, and asks for a spacious spot. As expected, Perun devours food like a bottomless pit. They eat so much that the restaurant ends up running out of ingredients and has to shut down temporarily. Now that he is full, Perun looks cheerful and energized again. Taishi is happy to see him satisfied, but the moment he checks his balance, he gets worried. His funds are low now, and with high living expenses and the goal of living together with Perun, he knows he needs to start earning fast. While wandering around, they come across the Dungeon Association building. Taishi figures this might be a good way to earn money. He steps inside and finds it much less crowded than he expected. At the reception desk stands a bald man with an air of arrogance, looking somewhat like a strict monk. The man welcomes them to the Takichua branch of the Dungeon Association and asks about the purpose of their visit. Taishi wonders how even someone like this bald man can work at the reception. The guy acts weird in a way that doesn't suit his arrogant personality. He asks them why they're here. Taishi tells him he has come to sell something to the association. Just as he is about to mention the Black Dragon, a news report running in the background distracts their attention. The newscaster reports that high school students are ambushing exhausted rankers who have just finished fighting high-level monsters. These students lie in wait, attack the rankers, and steal the monsters they hunted. The government is now asking the Dungeon Association to investigate these low-ranking students. While the receptionist remains unfazed by the news, Taihensi freezes. He realizes he is caught in the exact same situation. Even when the bald man asks again what he is there to sell, Taihensi panics. He can't bring himself to admit that he is doing the same thing mentioned in the news, but he also can't show the Black Dragon either. After thinking for a moment and failing to come up with another item to sell, he suddenly blurts out that he is here to sell himself and wants to take on a request. When the man asks for his rank, Taiti answers honestly. The bald man then points him to the volunteer department, explaining that they are the only ones who hire F-rankers. But the problem is, those jobs don't pay enough to even cover basic living expenses. Taishi insists that he needs to earn a lot of money to feed Perun's massive appetite, so he demands a B-rank quest. He says with confidence that he and his friend are more than capable of handling B-rank or higher requests. The bald man glances at Perun sitting on his shoulder and asks if that's the friend he is talking about. Taishi introduces Perun and assures him that they can absolutely win the quest. Still not convinced, the receptionist stares at the slime, clearly not taking it seriously. Then Taishi makes a cute pleading face and says they don't have parents and really need the money. This moves the man so much that he starts crying uncontrollably, just like Gyome Himejima from Demon Slayer. He starts babbling that the Dungeon Association supports passionate people who work hard to clear dungeons and improve life for powerful fighters, also known as rankers. Then he slides a paper across the desk. It's a B-rank request to collect high-grade mana grass near a B-rank negative dungeon. The job doesn't even require fighting monsters. He explains that high-grade mana grass is used to quickly recover power, and that it's essential for making strong mana capsules. These capsules are a must for surviving in A and B rank dungeons. Taishi gets excited. It sounds like an easy task. If the trip goes well and he earns 1,000 yen per stalk, just collecting a few dozen would cover several months of living expenses. The man also hands him a map showing areas with fewer monsters, which should help him find the grass safely. We finally learn that the bald guy's name is Takaharu Goichi, and he tells Taishi that he can contact him anytime for anything. After saying goodbye, Taishi sets off on his mission with Perun. Takaharu watches them leave, finding the duo of a slime and an F-ranker strangely interesting. Following the directions on the map, Taishi and Perun arrive at a forest where the B-rank dungeon is located. The map turns out to be incredibly helpful, clearly dividing known and unknown areas. As they explore, they find a glowing dungeon flower that reacts to magic, but since their mission is to find mana grass, they keep moving forward. Taishi could easily use his appraisal skill to find it, but he decides to search manually instead. Suddenly they hear a scream behind them. A boy named Nito is falling from above, and Perun rushes in to cushion the fall. Instead of crashing into the ground, the boy lands softly on Perun. They realize he is a boy, although he looks quite feminine. Taishi asks if he's okay, and wants to know why he was up in a tree. The boy shows a magic stone and says he climbed up to get it. Taishi finds that odd. Magic stones are common. He tells him mana grass is a more important item here. But the boy says he is a NEET, so he purposely picks times and places when others aren't around. Taisashi still doesn't understand why anyone would go to such trouble just for stones. The boy offers to help them collect stones too, but Taisashi interrupts, saying they're here for mana grass, not stones. The boy smiles and says he knows where to find mana grass. That is great news. When Taisashi asks how much they need, he says even 10 stalks would be enough. Mentions he has seen several hundred stalks nearby, which completely shocks Taishi. Taishi gets excited after hearing about the location of several hundred mana grass and quickly wants to know where they are growing. The boy tells him that he heard from some grapevines that a large amount of mana grass, along with rare plants, grows around a cave called the Unknown Territory, inside a B-rank dungeon. Without even thinking about the danger, both Taishi and Perun get desperate to enter the cave. On the other hand, the boy gets anxious after hearing the name of the cave and tries to stop them from going in, warning that there are too many monsters inside that might kill them. But Taishi stays unbothered. He is determined to achieve his goal because he needs a lot of mana grass, and he knows that the grass outside the cave won't be enough. He begins moving toward the cave, bringing the boy along even though he seems scared of the monsters there. As they get closer, they hide behind some bushes and look at the entrance of the cave. The boy confirms that they have reached the cave, but warns again that it would be dangerous to enter. Taishi doesn't listen. He sends Perun inside first, and soon they hear strange noises from within. When they enter the cave, they find a dead dragon lying on the ground. The boy tells them it is a C-ranked monster. Taishi isn't surprised to see the dragon already dead, but the boy is completely shocked and speechless. Then they realize that Perun is the one who took out all the monsters lying there. Suddenly they feel the ground shake. It's an earthquake caused by a B-rank stone golem monster. It turns out Perun didn't catch this one because it must have been hiding behind a rock while Perun was dealing with the others. Taishi tells the boy NEET to get to a safe place and then rushes forward to fight the golem himself. With Perun's help, he finishes off the monster in seconds. NEET is mesmerized and shocked that they were able to defeat such a strong monster with just one hit. Still overwhelmed, he asks what their rank is. Almost in tears from fear and confusion, Nito pleads with them, saying they should understand their weaknesses and know their own limits. According to him, ignoring those things isn't wise. Their eyes catch sight of a rare plant nearby, but the boy Nito wants to tell them all about its history. However, Taishi and Perun are too busy observing the surrounding plants to pay attention. They continue moving ahead in search of mana grass, while Nito remains occupied, still trying to guess their rank. The only ranks that come to mind are top-level ones. Taishi tells him that it's not about luck or rank. It's the power of friendship that made Perun so strong, and he hopes to become like him someday. Nito is touched by their bond and praises their friendship, saying he wants to learn from them. Suddenly, Perun notices a strange light glowing from a corner and rushes toward it. Taishi and Nito follow him, and to their surprise they discover not just hundreds but thousands of mana grass growing in the area. Joy fills their hearts. With this much they can cover not just months but even years of living expenses. Taishi picks some and stores them in his bag, preparing to move ahead, but Neat becomes tempted and wants to take more. Taishi, being kind-hearted, doesn't show any greed. He only takes what he needs and reminds Nito that others in the ecosystem might need them too. He advises him to do the same and only gather what is necessary. Inspired by these words, Nito agrees, and they leave the cave together, smiling and satisfied. But happy moments never last long. Just as everything seems fine, a large monster suddenly appears out of nowhere and prepares to attack Nito, who has no idea that danger is right behind him. The monster, which resembles a buffalo but walks upright on 2 feet, proudly stands before Taishi after swallowing Nito whole. Its pride is short-lived though, as it suddenly feels punches coming from inside its mouth. In the next moment, Nito bursts out, completely covered in slime. It turns out that Perun had attached itself to Nito just before the monster swallowed him, protecting him from harm. Taishi, who has been anxiously watching, feels a wave of relief wash over him. He rushes toward Nito and asks if he is all right. Nito, still trembling and confused, frantically tells him that everything suddenly went dark, and then he felt something soft and warm surrounding him. With tears in his eyes, he thanks Taishi for saving him. Taishi lets out a deep breath and quietly says he is just glad he could protect someone this time. He adds with a heavy heart that he does not want to lose any more people who matter to him. Hearing those words, Nito is moved and throws his arms around Taishi, hugging him tightly and promising that he will never die. Right in the middle of their heartfelt moment, Perun ends up squished between them like a little jelly sandwich. Taishi arrives at the dungeon association with Nito, walking nervously beside him. The crowd inside is overwhelming, and the introverted Nito clings tightly to Taishi's sleeve. Trying to reassure him, Taishi gently explains that they are here to sell mana grass. At the front counter, Takahara welcomes them with a friendly smile, and Taishi greets him in return. Nito becomes even more anxious when he spots a tough-looking man nearby, shrinking further behind Taishi. Trying to ease the mood, Taishi introduces Nito to Takahara and informs him that they are there to report the completion of a request. Takahara is impressed to hear this. Just then, the soul of the stone Hashira reacts emotionally again, with tears welling in his eyes. Takahara asks Taishi to hand over the mana grass, but his eyes widen in shock when he sees the massive quantity Taishi has collected in such a short time. He immediately suspects that Taishi must have gone to the cave located in the unknown territory, a place said to be guarded by a brank monster known as the King Wild Boar. He asks Taishi directly about it. Before Taishi can respond, Nito jumps in excitedly and blurts out that Taishi defeated the King Wild Boar with just one hit. Takahara stares at them, stunned into silence. Taishi then asks if they can sell the meat and bones of the monster. Nito looks confused and reminds Taishi that he said the meat was for Perun. Taishi clarifies that most of it is for Perun, but he plans to sell a small portion. Takahara takes a deep breath and regains his composure. He tells them that defeating the King Wild Boar means they successfully cleared a B-ranked dungeon. This news makes Taishi, Nito, and even Perun incredibly happy. Takahara asks them to wait a bit while he processes the settlement. As he works, he can't help but wonder how someone with an F rank managed to take down a B rank monster. After a short while, both Taishi and Nito receive the payment directly to their phones. Their eyes light up with joy when they see the large amount of money, and they exchange cheerful glances. Takahara informs them that their harvest ranks among the top 5 for the week and asks what they plan to do with the reward. Taishi replies that he'll pay all his overdue rent and buy lots of food for Purina. With a smile, Takahara wishes them well and says he will contact them if any new quests come up. As Taishi and Nito walk away happily, a few onlookers glance at them with curiosity and envy. Meanwhile, Takahara quietly hopes to see Taishi again. After leaving the dungeon, Nito thanks Taishi with a heartfelt smile. He says that after meeting Taishi and Perun, he finally realized that life is not just about himself. From now on, he wants to live honestly and be true to who he is. Taishi encourages him warmly, telling him that he believes in him and knows he can do it. Nito then says goodbye, promising that the next time they meet, he will be stronger and they will definitely form a team together. As Nito walks away, Taishi looks down at Perun and gently pats him. He tells him that since they met, his life has been filled with good people and meaningful connections. Excitedly, he tells Perun that after paying the rent, they will go shopping. Hearing this, Perun bounces with joy. The two spend the entire day exploring crockery shops, browsing clothes, and trying different foods. They enjoy every moment, laughing and playing as they strengthen their friendship even more. Later that evening, after a long and tiring day, Taishi relaxes in a warm bath with Perun floating beside him. He leans back and says that he hasn't felt this peaceful in a long time. Perun seems just as happy, enjoying the bath after the busy day. While soaking in the water, Taishi's thoughts drift to Karen. He starts to feel a bit worried about her, thinking back to what happened at school. Just then, Perun splashes gently to get his attention. Taishi looks at him and guesses that Perun is trying to tell him to reach out to her if he's worried. After the bath, he picks up his phone and hesitates for a moment, wondering if it's too late to call. He decides to send a message instead, but before he can type, the phone starts ringing, which makes him jump. Seeing Karen's name on the screen, he freezes for a second before nervously answering the call. Karen asks if he's alright. Taishi quickly assures her that he is fine. In return, he asks about her, noticing that her voice sounds a little off. She goes quiet for a moment and the line fills with silence. While still on the call, Taishi tells Karen that he cleared a B-rank dungeon today, and that from now on he plans to take on more requests from the association to earn money. Karen, keeping her voice calm, tells him about Kasai. She says that Kasai has been making a scene at school, complaining that he can't use his skills, yet he still has no intention of apologizing to Taishi. She adds that she will do whatever it takes to make sure he is punished for what he did. Just hearing Kasai's name makes Taishi feel sick to his stomach. Meanwhile, Perun, completely unaware of the serious mood, floats happily in the bathtub while playing with a little rubber duck. Choosing not to dwell on Kasai, Taishi gently shifts the conversation. He asks Karen if she's okay, saying that she probably didn't call just to talk about Kasai. There is a brief silence on the line before Karen softly asks about his parents, the ones who passed away in an accident. She says it must have been painful. Taishi pauses, his expression softening. He quietly replies that yes, it was painful, but now he has decided to live a happy life with his parents in his heart and with his precious friends beside him. Karen thanks him with tears in her eyes for answering such a strange and personal question. Feeling that something is not right, Taishi starts to ask her what's really going on. But before he can say anything, Karen quickly says she has to go and ends the call. After hanging up, Karen sits alone in a hospital room, tears quietly running down her cheeks. In front of her is a hospital bed, and it becomes clear that Taishi's feelings were right. Something is truly wrong. On the other hand, Taishi turns to Perun and asks if it also felt like something was wrong with Karen. Perun makes a worried face in response, showing that it shares his concern. As Taishi continues to think about Karen, his phone buzzes with a message from his homeroom teacher, Sasamori. The message says that the principal wants to speak with him about his school withdrawal and asks him to come to school the next day. The following day, Taishi stands in front of the principal's office, hearing students whispering nearby. They talk about how he defeated Kasai and the others, and even cleared a B-rank dungeon. Ignoring the murmurs, Taishi steps into the office, where his homeroom teacher is already waiting. After taking a seat, he politely asks the principal what business he has with him. The principal calmly informs him that his expulsion has been cancelled, which catches Taishi completely off guard. Sasamori then explains that Karen told them the real reason behind his decision to leave the school. Looking uncomfortable, the teacher admits that if Taishi had told him about the bullying, he might have helped. Taishi can't help but think sarcastically about all the times he tried to speak up and was ignored. The principal reassures Taishi that he does not need to attend school every day. As long as he submits reports of his activities at the Dungeon Association, his attendance will be flexible. This statement confuses Taishi, who wonders how the principal even knows about his work with the association. Then, the principal curiously asks why Taishi kept such powerful abilities hidden from everyone for so long. The question leaves Taishi feeling humiliated, as it becomes clear that they are only asking him to return to school because of his strength. Taishi calmly but firmly rejects their offer, saying he does not wish to rejoin the school and wants to continue living his new life. The principal does not react much to this, and instead calls Kasai and his two friends into the room. The three boys bow before Taishi and apologize, though their tone and expressions make it obvious that their apology is forced. Taishi is caught off guard by this sudden display, while Perun, sitting quietly on his lap, shifts uncomfortably and grows tense. The principal stands up and walks over to Kasai. He turns to Taishi and assures him that Kasai and the others will receive proper punishment. He also promises to discipline the homeroom teacher who ignored the bullying and allowed it to continue. All he wants is for Taishi to return and become the pride of the school. Hearing all this, Taishi begins to feel that the terms are reasonable. With such changes, maybe he could finally live the school life he once dreamed of. But just as he starts thinking about accepting the offer, he notices Perun staring furiously at the others. Perun is radiating a dangerous aura, the same one it gives off when it senses monsters with hostile intent. Recognizing this, Taishi quietly picks up his bag and stands. Without saying much, he tells them that he will think about it and walks out of the room. The principal and the others call after him, but Taishi does not stop. Outside the office, Taishi gently pats Perun to calm him down. Just then, Karine comes running toward him. Seeing her, Taishi's face lights up with happiness. After a while, Taishi and Karine sit together on a bench in the schoolyard. The atmosphere is quiet, and Taishi begins telling her everything that happened in the principal's office. Karine listens carefully, surprised that even the principal personally stepped in to cancel his expulsion. Still, she smiles and says she's glad the issue has been addressed. Taishi turns to her and thanks her sincerely for helping him. Hearing that makes Karen visibly happy, but as she looks at him, she notices a hint of sadness in his expression. Gently, she asks him why he still looks down even though the problem has been resolved. Taishi hesitates before replying that he's still unsure about coming back to school. Karen listens quietly for a moment and then advises him that finishing school would be important for his future. Then with a soft smile she says she also wants to spend her school life with him. Her words hit Taishi like a wave. He blushes, flustered, and stares at her in disbelief. It feels unreal to him. He's just an F rank and she's the most admired girl in the school. The thought that she might actually like him catches him completely off guard. He takes a deep breath and tries to calm himself, slowly regaining his composure. Just as he opens his mouth to respond, Corinne's phone rings. She answers it and goes completely silent for a moment. Then, without saying a word to Taishi, she suddenly stands up and begins to run. Taishi and Perun are left sitting there, stunned, confused by her abrupt change in behavior. Taishi quickly gets up and starts running after her, calling out her name as she disappears into the distance. Taishi catches up to Corinne at the hospital where her mother is admitted. While he stands in the corridor, short of breath, he notices a crowd gathered outside the room where Corinne is talking to her father. The moment her father lowers his head in silence, Corinne drops to her knees and cries out for her mother. From this, Taishi understands how serious the situation is. A little later, Corinne sits beside her mother's bed while Taishi waits on a bench in the hallway with her father. The man asks if Taishi is in Corinne's class. Taishi explains that he used to be but has already left school. He knows this man is the chairman of the Ikazuki group, a figure he often saw on the news. Taishi once imagined him as a stern business leader, yet the sorrow on his face is something he never expected. Corinne's father thanks Taishi for being her friend. He admits that he hid behind work and neglected his family, so he feels he has failed Corinne. Taishi replies that Corinne always looks out for others and often helped him. At this, the chairman says his cheerful daughter changed completely when her mother fell ill. He did not notice her sickness until it reached this point because he was consumed by his job. Now the doctors have told him to prepare for the worst, and no amount of money or the best medicine can change that. Taishi listens and then shares his own story. He tells the chairman that he lost his parents in an accident and was left alone until Karen encouraged him during class by offering to do math homework together. Her words motivated him to keep moving forward. He assures her father that this time he will be the one to help Karen. Purin, sitting on Taishi's shoulder, nods with the same determination. Relieved, the chairman says he is glad Karen has such a friend. Just then, an assistant arrives to remind him of an online meeting. He stands, apologizes for having to work even in this situation, and asks Taishi to stay with Corinne in case he returns late. Taishi agrees at once but has to bite his tongue when he nearly calls the man his future father-in-law. After the chairman leaves, Taishi watches Corinne through the glass door. He turns to Perun and asks if there might be a way to save her mother. Perun thinks for a moment, then climbs onto Taishi's head and projects an image of a flower. Taishi looks puzzled. Perun jumps to the floor, pretends to wilt like a sick slime, shapes its body into the same flower, then eats the slime shape and flexes, as if stronger than before. The little performance makes Taishi laugh. He realizes this plant must heal Karen's mother. Delighted, he asks where they can find it. Puron shows an image of an SS-ranked dungeon. Taishi is shocked, but quickly asks if Puron is sure. Puron remains as cheerful as ever, so Taishi agrees, thrilled that they have a plan. As they celebrate, Corinne walks out and calls his name. Taishi hushes himself, apologizing for making noise. Corinne says she is grateful he is there for her. She suggests he go home since it is late, but Taishi answers that he will leave only after her father returns. Again, he almost calls the man his future father-in-law, but stops himself. Corinne tries to smile, though her eyes still show sadness. Taishi asks if she is really all right. She nods, saying she believes her mother will recover. Taishi gives her an encouraging reply, saying he too believes her mother will pull through. He decides not to mention the healing plant yet. Instead, he thanks Karen for everything, and promises he will repay her kindness one day. He asks her to remember his words and never lose hope. Karen blushes and smiles brightly, agreeing to hold on to that promise. Taishi and Pern come back home to pack their bags. While packing, Taishi tells Perun that if they go deeper into the SS-ranked dungeon, they will be able to find the flower, so they should prepare their bags accordingly. He packs his bag with all the things he and Perun will need for a one-night stay, and then both of them stand with determination to go to the dungeon with the intention of finding the flower. Our cute little Perun also climbs onto his shoulder to accompany Tayupchi. Tayupchi reaches the dungeon on his bicycle, with Perun sitting inside the front basket, enjoying the ride. While parking the bicycle, Taishi sighs, saying that he never thought he would come back here for an SS-ranked dungeon. They both approach the dark and damp entrance of the dungeon as usual, then enter bravely. Inside, Taishi defeats a huge monster with Puron's help. Just as he starts to move forward, another monster ambushes him from behind and attacks his head with a mace, cutting off his neck. The monster thinks it has defeated our MC, but our hero is not so naive. It is surprised when it sees Taishi's body turn into slime, and just as it is taken aback, Taishi emerges from behind and defeats it with a single shot. Taishi and Perun stand on a cliff after defeating the monster, looking down at a horde of monsters approaching to attack them. Taishi sighs, telling Perun that the deeper they go into the dungeon, the more monsters appear. So Perun also nods in agreement. He hopes that the increasing number of monsters indicates the flower is closer, then steps down to fight the monsters. Using his nuclear fission skill, he bravely takes down the monsters, one by one with Perun's help. After defeating them all, Taishi slumps tiredly on the floor, saying that even with Perun's power, defeating these monsters is tough. He asks Perun, who is making a concerned face, if he might also be hungry, and apologizes, saying they didn't pack anything to eat, and will have to find food here. Suddenly, Perun's expression shifts from concern to anger as it senses something odd. It moves toward the source of the sensation. Taishi also looks in that direction, and remembers that he has felt this strange aura before. He suddenly realizes it is the aura of the King Buffalo monster, so he gets up and calls out to the monster hiding behind a stone. Perun climbs onto his shoulder again. The King Buffalo appears and intimidatingly says that today Taishi and Perun cannot escape from him. Taishi is terrified after seeing its form, which has completely changed since the last time. The King Buffalo monster is standing upright on 2 feet, unlike normal quadrupeds, which is the first surprise, but its face also looks different. It approaches Taishi and Perun, grinning, and says that they are the only prey that has run away from it. The King Buffalo attacks Taishi with its tail, but Perun blocks it, protecting Taishi, who is literally stunned by its speed. He didn't even recover from this shock when the King Buffalo monster comes from behind and tries to devour Perun, who is sitting on his shoulder, making Taishi realize that the monster has been aiming for Perun on his shoulder. The monster tells Taishi that if it can separate Perun from him, he will be easier to deal with, and then it attacks Taishi with one paw, sending him flying towards a stone. Just as Taishi is about to hit the stone, he uses Perun's ability Cushion, which surrounds him with slime, providing a cushion. Taishi responds with determination to the monster, saying that no matter what it does, he and Perun will never be separated. Hearing this, the monster smirks, saying that Taishi is good at running, but in the end he will have to become its prey. However, our MC uses Perun's power to bring down the King Buffalo, which lies on the floor with blood oozing from its mouth. Taishi sighs tiredly because he is starving and tells Perun they should hurry and find something to eat, otherwise he will pass out completely. Just as they feel a little relief, they hear the horrific sound of the monster, which is angrily blabbering about killing them. Taishi looks up to see the King Buffalo monster standing there in a completely different and horrific form, roaring. Seeing such a huge and terrifying monster in front of him, Taishi becomes terrified by its intimidating aura. The loud roar of the King Buffalo monster rumbles through the dungeon, shaking the air as it threatens to crush Taishi and Perun. But Taishi doesn't flinch. Calm and confident, he transforms back into his heroic form and mocks the beast, saying he'll finish this in one shot so the monster doesn't have to suffer. He then unleashes his thunder of judgment, striking the monster hard and sealing it right after. The overly proud creature, despite all its noise, gets sealed without much of a fight. Once the battle ends, Taishi collapses to the ground beside Perun and groans that he's starving. Eventually they manage to light a fire and start cooking the monster meat, both of them staring at it with hungry eyes and drooling as they wait. But Perun, too hungry to wait any longer, starts sniffing around and spots a bunch of mushrooms growing nearby. Eyes lighting up, the little slime rushes over and begins munching away happily. Taishi watches for a second before asking what he's eating. When he sees Perun scarfing down wild mushrooms, he starts to panic, warning that they might be poisonous. He quickly checks one of the mushrooms using the status window, and sure enough, they're toxic. Alarmed, he yells at Perun to stop and throw them away, but the slime keeps chomping without a care. Just as Taishi starts frantically searching for an antidote, Perun opens its status window, revealing that it only took 1 point of damage, which healed right away. Taishi stares at the bouncing slime, lets out a deep sigh and mutters that all his panic was for nothing. After stuffing themselves with the freshly cooked meat, Taishi and Perun finally feel full and satisfied. The flavors hit just right, and after that kind of feast, there's nothing left to do but relax. Taishi stretches out and lies down on a cloth he laid on the ground, letting out a deep sigh of contentment. He tells Perun they'll head out later to look for some flowers. Hearing that, Perun lights up with its usual cheerful smile and eagerly agrees, happy to follow along with whatever Taishi has in mind. As Taishi slowly drifts off into a peaceful sleep, the atmosphere shifts. That sweet bouncy Perun suddenly changes. Its soft goofy expression sharpens into something fierce, like it just switched into Angry Bird mode. Without making a sound, it hops away quietly, heading off somewhere with clear purpose in its eyes. After a solid nap, Taishi slowly opens his eyes and stretches, feeling refreshed. But as he glances around, a frown forms on his face. Perun is nowhere to be seen. He quickly sits up and starts calling out for his little slime buddy, but there is no response. That is when it hits him. This dungeon holds painful memories for Perun. He clenches his fist, realizing he completely forgot about what this place meant to him. Regret washes over him. He never should have brought Perun back here. But after a moment, he takes a deep breath and pulls himself together. He knows what he has to do. If he focuses, he should be able to track him down. Determined, he sets off through the dungeon, scanning every corridor and listening for any sign of Perun. Eventually, he comes to a stop in front of a solid dead-end wall. He tilts his head, confused because something feels off. For some reason, he is sensing Perun's presence from behind that wall. Curious, he reaches out to touch it, and to his surprise, his hand passes right through. Before he can even react, his whole body follows and he falls straight through to the other side. He grunts as he hits the ground, then quickly gets up and looks around. It is a hidden entrance. He mutters to himself, wondering who would even build something like this and what they were trying to keep secret. Just as he is about to brush himself off and fully stand, his eyes catch something ahead. He looks up and what he sees leaves him stunned. Taishi is surprised to see a huge shrine and wonders what a shrine like this is doing in this place. Moreover, he also senses Puron's presence. He calls out to Puron, asking if it is here, when he catches sight of Puron near a wall, so he rushes to it. He picks Puron up and worriedly asks where it wandered off to which Puron cutely shows him the flower, surprising Taishi. Taishi checks the status of the flower, which shows that it is the plant that heals all ailments. Seeing this, Taishi shouts with happiness, cheering Puron that it found the plant. Puron also gets happy and gets up to his favorite place, Taishi's shoulder. Taishi begins walking happily, saying that with this flower they can heal Karen's mother. He also advises Puron, mentioning that it's okay this time since nothing happened, but next time Puron shouldn't go alone because it's dangerous. He asks Puron to rely on him as well. Meanwhile, Puron is lost in thought about when he found that flower. Back when Puron discovered the flower, he was happy to see it, but suddenly a woman dressed like an angel with horns on her head appeared there, saying to Puron that it's been a while, as if she had known him for some time. It seems she is the dungeon goddess. Seeing her, Puron is surprised and jumps, which amuses her, and she asks if living with humans, which Puron wanted, is really a good idea, yet he came back to steal from her in the dungeon. Hearing this, Puron furrows his brow, making the goddess laugh. She tells Puron that despite having such abilities, he still has to struggle for the sake of humans. She says to Puron, while walking ahead, that she can't just give away that precious flower, to which Puron also moves forward. Seeing its expression, the goddess assumes that Puron is saying that if she doesn't give the flower to him, he will take it by force, which amuses her. She asks if Puron is really going to do that, to which Puron cutely agrees. Seeing its determination, the goddess gets silent for a moment and then cheerfully tells Puron that she was kidding and asks if she was really being mean. Puron replies in his usual language, saying Puron, expressing his happiness. The goddess agrees and tells Puron to take the flower, since she doesn't have any particular reason to stop Taishi and Puron. This makes Puron happy, and he cheers cutely, to which the goddess smiles and tells Puron to take the flower before she changes her mind. Puron moves near the flower and is about to pluck it with his cute little slime hands happily. Seeing him so happy, the goddess asks if he is really that happy. Puron agrees, to which the goddess says to him with a serious expression not to be too joyful, because Taishi and Puron will part ways in the not-so-distant future anyway. Puron doesn't care much about it, and seeing him so nonchalant, the goddess asks if he forgot being abandoned once by humans. She warns Puron that he might be used and abandoned again by humans because humans betray as soon as they have no use for you. Puron plucks the flower and faces the goddess, calling out to her, so the goddess understands that he is trying to help his friend. She finds it interesting and instructs Puron to hurry up and take the flower to his friend. Puron happily moves out of there. Now, seeing Puron so happy in Taishi's hands, the goddess remembers Puron's past, when he once stood before her completely injured with tears in his eyes. She smirks while watching Taishi and Puron run out of there and murmurs to herself, or rather warns Puron, that their encounter is both destiny and a curse, so Puron should enjoy that curse to his heart's content. On the other hand, Taishi and Puron reach the hospital, and while running toward Karan's mother's room, Taishi sincerely prays in his heart to God to let him arrive in time. But when he reaches outside the room, he halts upon seeing Karan standing there crying. Taishi realizes that he couldn't make it in time. Seeing Karan crying outside the room, Taishi gets a glimpse of his past, when he himself was standing outside a hospital room just like her, crying. Karan notices him, and Taishi moves forward and asks her about her mother, to which she tells him that she is still in critical condition. Taishi realizes that there is still a chance. Just when Karan calls out to him, suddenly the ECG line of her mother becomes straight, and Karan rushes inside. She calls out to her mother, crying, and the doctors, after examining her, say that she is now dead. Karan starts crying badly and her father tries to console her. Seeing all this, Taishi remembers when his own mother and father died, and how devastated he was when he saw their dead bodies. So he gathers courage, puts his bag down and enters the room, showing the flower to everyone and telling them that they can save Karen's mother with this flower. He tells them that this is a flower from an SS rank dungeon that can cure all ailments and urges them to hurry because there is no time. Everyone, including Karen and her father, looks at him cluelessly. The nurse comes near him and requests that he calm down because this is not the right time, but Taishi doesn't slow down and again tells them in a loud voice that this flower can cure every disease and that they should believe his words, to which the nurse again tries to stop him. Karen's father looks at him in surprise, while Karen remembers the time at school when Taishi fought with the bad boys, and she believed him when he said that he really went to an SS rank dungeon. And now Taishi is standing there helping her and her cheeks turn red. She moves forward, telling the nurse to stop, and asks them to believe her friend's words. She bows before the doctor and the nurse, and begs them to believe Taichi, asking them to use the flower on her mother. She pleads with them to save her mother. but the doctor refuses, saying that he cannot do that, because he cannot recklessly administer a flower whose safety has not been confirmed. Listening to the doctor, Karen's father steps forward, saying that he will take full responsibility as her guardian, and that the flower should be administered to his wife. The doctor hesitates at first, but then agrees. After a while, the doctor advises the nurse to check the patient's vitals every 30 minutes, and to call him immediately if anything happens. He then leaves the room where Karen's father questions him anxiously about his wife's condition. The doctor seriously replies that after administering the flower to the patient, her vitals return to a safe state, and she has passed the critical condition. However, whether this is the flower's effect or a temporary phenomenon must be determined through subsequent tests. Listening to him, Karen's father asks curiously if this means his wife is recovering, to which the doctor responds that he can't make a hasty statement, but it is a positive sign, and they will continue monitoring. Karen's father thanks the doctor, who then walks out of the room. Karen goes in and sits beside her mother, while outside her father sitting on the bench thanks Taishi, who is standing nearby. He expresses his gratitude and Taishi replies that he is glad. Karen's father tells Taishi that he truly did something dangerous to save his wife's life, and that he is grateful from the bottom of his heart because Taishi gave them hope. Taishi, on the other hand, happily tells him that he didn't do anything and points to Perun, saying that Perun found the flower. Karen's father insists that he must repay them somehow, to which Taishi asks him not to worry about it. Well, he thinks. He is his father-in-law, according to Taishi. Suddenly, they hear Karen's voice calling out to her mom, and both of them rush into the room, only to be surprised to see her mother sitting on the bed, alive. Karen cries, seeing her mother perfectly fine, and her father also moves forward, tears streaming down his face as he sees his wife. Karen's mother consoles him, saying that she is all right, but he keeps crying, saying how glad he is. Seeing them happy, Taishi squishes Perun lovingly, saying that it is great, to which Perun also agrees cutely. He listens to the doctor and the nurse standing near him, saying that a miracle has occurred. Both of them are surprised to see the patient perfectly fine and conscious. The doctor instructs the nurse to check the patient's vitals and prepare for a detailed examination, to which the nurse agrees. Taishi, listening to them, remembers that the miracle he had truly wished for at the time of his parents' death has happened now. He picks up his bag and tells Perun that they should go now. Right now is family time, so both of them leave to go to their own home. While walking along the road with his bicycle, Taishi seems a little sad. Perun notices and calls out to him worriedly. Taishi tells Perun what he has been thinking. He says that he is truly happy, but he still wonders if things would have been different if he had met Perun earlier. Maybe he could have saved his parents too. As he says this, he becomes frustrated with himself for thinking about unnecessary things. Just then, his phone rings in his pocket. It is a call from Karin. Taishi sits down at a bus stop and answers the call. Karin excitedly tells him that although her mother's detailed test results are not out yet, she is in good condition. Taishi smiles and tells her that he is very glad to hear that, and that he always believed her mother would recover. Karin then asks Taishi where he is, saying that her mother wants to thank him personally. Taishi hesitates for a moment before telling her that he is on his way home. Hearing this, Karin becomes a little sad. Because she wanted to talk to him more, Taishi tells her that she must still be unsettled right now, so it would be better for them to meet when her mother is discharged from the hospital. Karin agrees and thanks him, saying that she is truly grateful to him. After hearing this, Taishi becomes quiet for a moment. Then he thanks her as well for believing in him until the end before ending the call. On the other hand, Karin's father asks her about Taishi's whereabouts. She tells him that Taishi has already gone home. Her mother also says that she wanted to thank him directly. Hearing this, Karin becomes a little shy and says that they will meet him again soon. Meanwhile, Taishi is riding his bicycle with a huge smile on his face. He tries to reassure himself that he should not think about unnecessary things and should properly celebrate the happy moments. He tells Perun that they should go home and eat something delicious, which makes Perun shout with joy. However, Taishi suddenly stops his bicycle. After remembering the things he still has to do today, his expression turns depressed. The moment of joy for poor Taishi lasts only a short while. Back at the landlady's home, Taishi bows in front of her and apologizes for paying the rent late. He also brings some sweets as an apology and offers them to her. The landlady, acting all sweet, accepts both his apology and the sweets, saying that it is fine this time. However, her aura suddenly changes as she sarcastically says that if he plans to pay the rent late in the future, he should inform her in advance. Taishi becomes nervous and quickly says that he will be more careful in the future. Beside him, Perun also seems sorry and closes its eyes apologetically. After a while, Taishi is sitting in front of the owner of the cafe where he used to work part-time. The owner wipes her tears and asks him if he is really quitting his part-time job. Taishi apologizes and says that he should have told her earlier. Another co-worker steps in happily and says that Taishi is becoming an A ranker, which is very good news. Both of them are very happy and tell Taishi not to forget them when he becomes famous. Taishi simply smiles in response. Perun is sitting on Taishi's lap, smiling widely as well. They walk out of the cafe together. Taishi says his farewell and leaves on his way. Watches him go and says to the coworker worriedly that Taishi is going to do a difficult job and hopes that he will be okay. The coworker reassures her and says that Taishi will be fine. He adds that Taishi also has a reliable family, referring to Perun. On the other hand, Karine sits beside her mother, peeling an apple while talking about the time Taishi fought at school. Seeing her speak so happily, her mother says that this is the first time she has ever seen Karine talk so much about a friend. Karin blushes and smiles, saying that thinking about Taishi makes her feel good. Her mother asks when the two of them first met, so Karin explains that they met when they first entered high school and became classmates. She says that while the atmosphere around them was bright and lively, Taishi was the only one with a dark expression, which was natural after the accident that took his parents. Karine also had her own struggles with her mother being hospitalized, so among the crowd they both felt like kindred souls. Because of that, Karin was the one who spoke to him first. She tells her mother that since Taishi once acted for her sake, she has been able to trust him. She smiles while recalling the memory. Her mother tells her that Taishi sounds like a really good boy. She says she feels grateful to him, not only for saving her life, but also for making Karin smile. Karin explains that Taishi is mysterious. He has many unexpected sides and sometimes she worries about him. At the same time, he can be very reliable, which makes her happy whenever she thinks about him. Her mother smiles and tells her that people who can make you laugh are the best. She adds that she also fell for Karen's father because he made her smile. Karen is surprised and says that it is hard to imagine her father making her mother smile. Her mother laughs and explains that even though Karen's father looked big-headed and unfriendly, his kindness toward her felt both funny and wonderful. Hearing that, Karen becomes excited and says that Taishi is also like that. However, her mother then casually mentions that she started liking Karen's father from that time. The word like lingers in Karen's mind. She grows quiet and begins wondering about what that feeling really means. Listening to her mother, Karine blushes and quickly tells her that she and Taishi are just friends. Her mother does not say anything and simply keeps smiling while looking at her. Because of this, Karine becomes even more embarrassed and frustrated, insisting that it is really nothing like that. At that moment, her father suddenly barges into the room, excitedly shouting that he brought their favorite sushi since the test results were good, and he received permission. Karin is shocked to see such a cheerful side of her father. Realizing this, her father becomes embarrassed, and quickly composes himself, saying that he just showed Karin an embarrassing side of himself. He then walks over and lovingly gives the sushi to his wife. Karin feels a little awkward because she has never really seen her parents behave like this before. Feeling embarrassed, she awkwardly says that she is going to get some water, and walks out of the room. Outside, Karin drinks some water while thinking that she has never seen that side of her father before. Suddenly, her father calls out to her, which startles her so much that she spits all the water from her mouth onto him. She quickly apologizes, but her father assures her that it is all right. He then gives her mobile phone to her, and says that her mother asked him to give it back, thinking Karin might want to contact someone. He also tells her that he felt the same way at that time. However, as he starts walking away, he sulks and complains that the mother and daughter are toying with him by not telling him anything. He adds that he did not really want to hand over the phone either. Meanwhile, Karine becomes happy and calls Taishi. When he answers, she tells him that her mother's test results were good. She then asks him if he is free tomorrow, saying that she wants to talk to him about something. The next day, Karine is waiting for Taishi, looking very pretty and all dressed up. Taishi arrives and asks if she has been waiting long, but she denies it and says that she has just arrived as well. Seeing her, Taishi thinks to himself that Karine looks very cute today. Karine asks him about Perun, and Taishi tells her that Perun is sleeping inside his bag. Karine suggests that they should sit down somewhere, and Taishi agrees. After a while, the two of them are sitting on a bench with coffee in their hands. Looking up at the sky, Taishi says that the weather is beautiful today. Seeing how cheerful he looks, Karen asks him if he is in a good mood. Taishi agrees and says that he is happy because Karen's mother has gotten better, and Karen herself looks brighter today. He adds that he was able to help because of the power that awakened within him, which makes him truly happy. While they are talking, Perun climbs out of Taishi's bag and starts cheerfully dancing around. Seeing this, Taishi assumes that Perun must be very happy as well. Watching the three of them enjoying their moment together, a photographer nearby takes their picture and then walks over to them. He gives them the photo and says that they look like very close friends, so he wants to give it to them as a present. When they look at the photo, they see themselves smiling brightly. Taishi comments that the picture turned out very well, especially Karine. Karine suddenly gets up from the bench and starts running, asking Taishi and Perun to come play with her. Taishi smiles as he watches her and then runs after her. Perun also happily joins in. They spend the entire day enjoying themselves together. They explore different stalls, watch movies, eat ice cream, and simply have fun. By the end of the day, the three of them have created many memorable moments. Later that night, Taishi and Karine walk along the road while talking about various things. Suddenly, Taishi remembers that Karine had something she wanted to discuss with him. Meanwhile, Perun has gotten tired and is now peacefully sleeping inside Taishi's bag. Karine hesitates for a moment and begins to speak. She says that Taishi has helped her many times, and that she often thinks about him and worries about him. Just as she is about to confess that she likes him, their moment is suddenly interrupted by the loud sound of a helicopter flying above them. Members of the guild descend from the helicopter using ropes, and Takahara, the bald man, steps forward and stands in front of Taishi. Taishi is surprised to see them arrive like this, especially by helicopter. Takahara tells him that he came here to meet him. He explains that Taishi's accomplishment in clearing the SS-ranked dungeon has reached the association. Then Takahara makes an announcement that shocks Taishi completely. He declares that from this moment, Taishi is officially appointed as an S-ranker in their dungeon association. Taishi cannot believe what he has just heard and asks Takahara about it. One of the female members from the association quietly asks Takahara if this really is Taishi, because he does not look like someone fit to be an S-ranker. Another member says that it is hard to believe that he conquered an SS-ranked dungeon. One more member adds that he heard Taishi even captured a red dragon and ate it whole. Takahara listens to them and then asks Taishi if he is willing to go with them now to take the S-ranker exam, so they can confirm whether he truly conquered the SS-ranked dungeon. Taishi looks confused, so Takahara explains that S-rankers are considered equal to a nation's power. Because of that, the association must verify such achievements thoroughly. He tells Taishi that if he truly has the qualities of an S-ranker, he will pass the test easily. By this time, Porun has woken up and is listening to Takahara carefully while resting on Taishi's head. Takahara stands with the other members and asks Taishi if he is willing to take the test. Karin, looking worried, asks Taishi if the test will be dangerous. Hearing this, Taishi falls silent for a moment. Then he asks Karin if she will believe in him this time as well. He tells her that for both him and Porun, who were always looked down on, this test is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to prove their existence. He asks her to believe in both of them. Smiling at Karin, he adds that when he comes back they will continue the conversation they were having earlier. His words surprise her. Taishi then walks toward Takahara and says that he will take the test. Soon after, he boards the helicopter with them. Karin watches the helicopter as it rises into the sky. Taishi promises her that he will return, and Karin silently wishes him good luck. Inside the helicopter, Takahara tells Taishi that he will be given a test and an assignment. The first test is simple. Taishi only has to survive in the canyon dungeon below, over which their helicopter is currently flying. Takahara shows him a route on the map and explains that Taishi must follow that route and reach the final point within 24 hours to pass the test. If he fails to arrive within that time, or if he arrives but has sustained disqualifying injuries, he will fail. Takahara then introduces the 3 other members in the helicopter and says that they will evaluate Taishi. Unless all 3 of them recognize his ability, he will not be promoted. Just as Takahara is about to give further instructions, Taishi suddenly stands up and walks toward the open door of the helicopter. The members are startled and shout at him that they have not reached the starting point yet, and that it is dangerous, telling him to sit down. Taishi does not pay much attention to them. With a confident smile, he jumps out and proudly says that starting from here is the shortest way. Everyone is shocked that he actually jumped. Taishi remains suspended in the air with the help of wings created by Porun. Below him, monsters begin to emerge from the dungeon. Taishi releases a technique that produces bright flashes of light, illuminating the entire area, and killing all the monsters in a single attack. The members in the helicopter are stunned by the technique. Takahara asks one of them to check the reaction of the A-ranked monsters. However, they are surprised to see no response at all. Taishi has killed dozens of monsters in a single strike and has taken no damage. The female member looks at Taishi's status and says that she has never seen such power before. Takahara Wernemual also wonders that if the story about Taiwasil conquering the SS-ranked dungeon is true, then his strength may be far beyond that. Suddenly they notice that a few monsters are still showing signs of life. Taiwasi and Porun remain calm. Surrounded by a bright yellow aura, one monster rushes toward Taiwasi, but he immediately uses the technique Cushion Spiral and defeats it with ease. While the members are still watching the scene outside the helicopter, Taiwasi quietly appears behind them, inside the cabin, and calmly asks if he still needs to go all the way to the final point for the test to count. Everyone jumps in shock after seeing him suddenly standing there. After a while, they are seated inside the helicopter again. One of the members informs Taishi that he has cleared the first test. If he also passes the next one, he will officially be promoted. His S-rank promotion mission is to hunt the king crab in the undersea dungeon. Taishi replies that if the target is only the king crab, it sounds easier. Takahara quickly corrects him and explains that it is not that simple. The undersea dungeon is classified as an A-ranked dungeon, but hunting the king crab that lives there is a mission that only S-rankers are capable of completing. Taishi asks why that is the case. Takahara explains that it is because the undersea dungeon lies in the darkest depths of the sea. One of the members asks Taishi worriedly if he will be okay, since this is an S-ranker mission. The female member also warns him, saying that just getting through the entrance is difficult because it is an undersea dungeon. Taishi smiles and reassures them that it will be fine because he is with Porun. Porun cheers joyfully as if agreeing with him. At the same time, the pilot informs them that they will arrive at the diving point shortly and that they should prepare for the descent. Taishi nods. After a moment, he and Porun both jump into the sea below. While still in the air, Taishi surrounds himself with Perun's technique, Perun Bubble, a special skill that allows a person to breathe inside the bubbles created by Perun. Then both of them dive into the sea. Under the sea, Taishi discovers the dungeon. Suddenly, Perun detaches itself from the bubble and moves ahead, leaving Taishi confused about what it is trying to do. Perun starts glowing brightly and activates its skill, nuclear fusion. In this skill, Perun compresses its body to the atomic level to generate energy. While it can normally produce immense light and heat, right now it is suppressed to simply illuminate the surroundings. Seeing this, Taishi smiles and praises Perun. Together they enter the dungeon. Taishi looks around, finding everything unfamiliar since this is a completely new experience for him. As he explores, he notices a hole and wonders if it might be the real entrance, so he moves forward to investigate and enters through it. It turns out to be the true entrance, and Taishi is surprised to see a place like this under the sea. Beyond the entrance there is no water inside the dungeon. He steps onto the ground and sits calmly, but Perun suddenly becomes alert. Several monsters appear behind Taishi and attack them. Perun removes the bubble from Taishi, since they are now standing on the ground rather than in the sea. Taishi becomes nervous, but Perun easily defeats all the monsters in a single strike. Taishi thanks Perun, and getting up says that if they continue like this they should be fine. Then both of them continue moving quickly through the dungeon, defeating every monster in their path. Eventually they reach the boss room, where the king crab emerges from the water, taking on a strange fighting pose that leaves both Taishi and Perun confused. After a moment, the king crab dives back into the water. Taishi stands there dumbfounded, trying to figure out what the crab was trying to do. He wonders if it was inviting them into the water, but he is reluctant to go in. As they are standing there, they notice movement in the water. Suddenly, two A-ranked monsters, a charging marlin and a giant octopus, burst from the water, startling both Taishi and Perun. Perun immediately steps forward, and Taishi warns it to be careful since the monsters are A-ranked. Perun releases so much heat that both monsters are cooked and grilled instantly. They look so delicious that Taishi drools and asks Perun if he can eat them. Just then, the king crab's claw shoots out of the water and grabs Taishi, surprising him and even startling the usually fearless Perun. Taishi struggles to free himself from the crab's claw, realizing how dangerous the situation could become. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot break free. Seeing this, Perun calls out to him worriedly. Even though he is in trouble, Taishi reassures Perun that he is fine. Suddenly, the crab lifts Taishi up and begins to carry him away. Seeing this, Perun becomes furious. It unleashes the technique Fear of Death, which causes the crab to become numb and lose consciousness. Its grip loosens slightly, and Taishi shouts that this is their chance and they should finish it now. Perun agrees and activates another skill called Mithril Transformation. This ability allows Perun to attack and defend at the same time, by delivering an internal shock without causing any external wounds. Perun dives into the water and reaches the unconscious crab. It lightly touches the crab, sending a powerful shock through its body. The crab floats for a moment, and then slowly sinks back into the water. Still confused, Taishi asks Perun if they have defeated it. Perun confirms from inside the water. Taishi praises Perun, and says that they should take the crab with them since it looks like a huge crab and probably tastes good too. Perun cheerfully agrees. It enlarges its body, and lifts the crab out of the water. Taishi examines the crab, and is surprised to see that there is not a single scratch on it. He thanks Perun and says that it is really amazing and that they should head home now. Perun grows even larger and begins hopping away while carrying the crab, with Taishi sitting comfortably on its head. Meanwhile, inside the helicopter, one of the association members looks down at the sea and asks Takahara if Taishi will really be okay. He suggests that they should request backup now. However, Takahara refuses. He says that Taishi raised his level in such a short time, so they should trust him and wait for now. The next moment, everyone notices movement in the sea below. Suddenly, Taishi emerges from the water with the giant crab, surprising all of them. They can hardly believe that he actually defeated the king crab. Realizing what this means, they conclude that a true S-ranker has appeared. Taishi calls out to them and asks them to lower a rope so that he can properly secure the crab. Takahara immediately instructs the members to report the result to headquarters, while also lowering the rope for Taishi. Taishi grabs the rope, and from inside the helicopter, Takahara congratulates him, saying that Taishi is now a true S-ranker. Taishi becomes happy and thanks him. He also asks Perun if it heard the news as well. Hearing this, Perun suddenly rises out of the water in excitement. The sudden movement makes Taishi lose his balance and tumble down, which worries Perun. Taishi quickly reassures it, saying that it is alright. He tells Perun that since it moved around so much all day, it must be hungry, and that they will eat a lot of food later. Perun cheers happily. Taishi then declares with excitement that today they will have an S-ranker celebration party. Perun cheers again with joy and returns to its normal size, climbing back to its usual place on Taishi's shoulder. Watching them, Takahara comments that seeing an S-ranker so carefree is heartwarming. Soon after, with Taishi and Perun standing on the giant crab that is tied to the rope below the helicopter, they begin their journey back to the association. Finally, at the Dungeon Association, the moment arrives when Takahara stands before everyone and announces that Taishi is now officially appointed as an S-ranker of the Japan Dungeon Association. One of the members approaches Taishi and apologizes, saying that everything was prepared in a hurry, so it may feel hectic, but from now on they will all be under his care. The rest of the members sincerely applaud him. Hearing the applause, Taishi becomes emotional. For someone who has always been looked down on, this is the first time in his life that so many people are celebrating him sincerely. Taishi smiles and says loudly that he is still inexperienced, but he will take responsibility and do his best in every mission given to him. After some time, Taishi stands there shyly while listening to everyone talk about how he has become their pride. Then Takahara calls out to him. He tells Taishi that from now on he will receive treatment befitting an S-ranker. His missions will be of higher rank, and he will receive rewards accordingly. Takahara also explains that since Taishi is still a minor, the official public announcement has been postponed, but it is only a matter of time before everyone finds out. He adds that receiving treatment, rewards, and attention equal to his rank also means carrying responsibilities of the same level. Hearing this, Taishi falls silent for a moment. Then he admits, somewhat sadly, that he still does not have confidence in himself, even after becoming an S-ranker. He says that all the power he used came from Perun, so he does not feel like it is truly his own ability. Takahara looks at Taishi and asks him why he thinks Perun made a contract with him. Taishi hesitates and replies that it is because Perun chose him. Takahara interrupts and tells him that it is because Taishi himself has strong power. He calmly explains with a smile that forming a contract with a powerful being like Perun is proof of Taishi's strength. Hearing this, Taishi is surprised. Beside him, Perun also seems to agree with Takahara and smiles cutely. Takahara then tells Taishi to believe in his own power, reminding him that he is now the association's S-ranker. He then asks Taishi if he is free that afternoon, saying that he wants to take him somewhere. Later that day, Takahara brings Taishi to an elite restaurant called Tatsumi. Taishi looks around excitedly and happily says that after becoming an S-ranker, he can eat at places like this, which makes Takahara laugh. Takahara introduces him to the owner who invited them. The owner, who is also the head chef named Tatsumi Shigetoshi, welcomes them warmly. As soon as he sees Taishi, he suddenly starts crying and hugs him, saying that he is honored to meet him. Taishi is confused but politely greets him along with Takahara. The owner then leads them inside and seats them at a table filled with beautifully prepared dishes. Taishi and Perun both light up with excitement at the sight of the delicious food. Perun even has hearts in its eyes as it looks at the meal. The owner urges them to eat as much as they like, saying that he owes them a great debt of gratitude. Taishi looks confused, so Takahara explains that the owner of Tatsumi was the one who requested the king crab, which became Taishi's S-rank mission. He invited Taishi to personally thank him. Understanding this, Taishi happily begins eating. Both of them enjoy the delicious food, while Perun, as usual, completely loses control in its excitement over the meal. After a while, Perun sits there with a content expression after eating so much delicious food. Taishi apologizes to the owner, saying that they ended up eating too much. The owner reassures him that it is completely fine, so Taishi thanks him again for the wonderful meal. Taishi then asks Tatsumi that since he is the head chef of such a high-class restaurant, was the king crab meant for a special dish? Tatsumi agrees and says that while that is one reason, there is something more important. He explains that the king crab was not meant to serve many customers, but to prepare the finest dish for a single person. Tatsumi continues and tells him that there is someone who has supported him for a long time. That person had spent many years overseas and recently returned home, but is about to leave again. Before going, they wished to eat the king crab dish they had long desired. To fulfill that wish, Tatsumi had to make an urgent request, and thanks to Taishi, he was able to obtain the king crab and prepare the dish. Taishi finds the story touching, and says that doing something like that for someone important is really admirable. Tatsumi then asks Taishi if he has someone important in his life. This question makes Taishi fall silent. Tatsumi gently advises him that if he has someone important, he should not hold back his feelings. He says that after spending a lifetime working, one might regret not expressing those feelings. Hearing this, Taishi recalls Karin as she was seeing him off. Suddenly remembering her, he quickly stands up and says that he just remembered an old promise. He politely asks to be excused. Takahara agrees, and Taishi thanks them before hurrying out. After he leaves, Tatsumi calmly remarks while sipping tea that Taishi still seems like a young boy, yet it is amazing that he is already an S-ranker. He adds that he never expected his difficult request to be fulfilled so easily. Takahara responds that Taishi has become quite a topic within the association as well, since there has never been an underage S-ranker before. Tatsumi smiles and asks Takahara to take good care of Taishi, both physically and emotionally, since he is still just a child. Takahara agrees. Meanwhile, Taishi runs toward his destination with determination. Taishi runs along the road and happily tries to call Karin, but then realizes that she must be at school right now. He wonders if he should wait outside her house instead, thinking that it would not feel right for him as a dropout to go back to school. While he is thinking about this, he receives a call from an unknown number and answers it. The caller introduces himself as Shirakaru, the principal of Gecko High School, and asks if he is Taishi. Surprised, Taishi greets him politely. The principal explains that Taishi's homeroom teacher has not been making much progress, so he decided to contact him personally. He says that the call is regarding Taishi's return to school, something they had discussed before, and asks for his decision. The principal tells him that the school is ready to accept all of his conditions and encourages him to come back. Hearing this, Taishi asks if he can come to the school and speak with him directly. After some time, Taishi arrives at the school. As he walks through the corridor, he decides to meet Corinne before going to the principal's office. Just then, he spots Corinne walking ahead. He is about to call out to her, but his attention is caught by a handsome boy walking beside her. The two of them are talking happily. Taishi's expression falls slightly as he recognizes the boy as Nishiyama, the captain of the soccer club. He stops and watches them talking freely with each other. At that moment, the same trio of bullies approaches him from behind and calls out to him. In the next moment, they take Taishi to the rooftop. There, they question him about why he is at the school even after dropping out. Taishi calmly tells them that he came to meet the principal. The cocky leader of the trio, Shota, looks closely at Taishi and realizes that his eyes are completely different from before. The trio cannot do anything to Taishi now because of the lesson he taught them before. Their cocky leader hesitantly asks Taishi if he can restore the skill that was sealed in him. He says he feels useless without it, and pathetically begs Taishi to bring it back. He adds that Taishi is now a B ranker or higher, so someone like him, a C ranker, cannot do anything anyway. His two partners remain silent, looking down in shame. Seeing him beg, Taishi pauses as if thinking, then refuses. He tells them that they ruined other people's lives without a second thought. He mocks them, saying that now they are acting like victims in front of him, even though he knows they still bully others. He tells them to stop pretending as if they have learned their lesson. The other two boys move closer to their leader. Taishi calmly tells them that coming back to school and seeing them has changed his mind. He had not planned to return, but because of them, he now feels like coming back. He says that since he has the power, he will set things right. Hearing this, the leader is shocked. Taishi then warns them to behave themselves, otherwise he will make them pay many times over. The three of them become scared. The leader quickly promises that he will not bully anyone anymore, but Taishi cuts him off. He says that he knows him well and that words like that are not enough to change him, so he will make sure of it today. Before he can finish speaking, one of the boys runs away in fear, shouting that he did nothing and that their leader was responsible for everything. The other boy also starts whining and denying any fault. Taishi remains unmoved and says that the people they bullied had also done nothing wrong. With that, he uses Perun's technique, death fear. The three of them are paralyzed by fear as they experience a terrifying sensation. After a moment, Taishi stops the technique. He turns and walks away, telling them that what they felt was only a tiny fraction of fear. Compared to what their victims went through, it was nothing. The trio remains on the ground, completely shaken and overwhelmed with fear. When Taishi casts death fear on them, Shota suddenly finds himself in a dark and unfamiliar realm. His two friends are standing there. Shota calls out to them, but they do not respond. He becomes irritated, thinking they are ignoring him, and shouts at them to turn around. When they finally turn, Shota is horrified. Their faces are blurred and blood is flowing from their mouths. Overwhelmed with fear, he falls to the ground. Shadows begin to gather around him, closing in and making it hard to breathe. Just as the fear reaches its peak, his consciousness snaps back to reality. Back in the real world, all three of them are sweating heavily as they slowly get up. One of the boys asks Shota what just happened. Shota replies that the gap between Taishi and them is far too wide now. He says that Taishi has become much stronger ever since that slime appeared. He then asks if Taishi got that slime in the SS rank dungeon, and the other boy confirms it. Shota remembers that one of them has a family member working at the association and orders him to dig up everything he can about Taishi. The boy hesitates and suggests that they should just leave Taishi alone, but Shota ignores him and repeats his order, telling him to find out everything. On the other hand, the principal thanks Taichi for deciding to return to school and tells him that from now on he can come to him anytime if he has concerns. Taichi nods and reminds him about the promise they made. The principal assures him not to worry. After leaving the principal's office, Taichi quietly asks Perun if this decision is really okay. Perun responds, and Taichi thanks it before deciding to head home. Just as he starts walking, Karine, who is with Nishiyama, notices him and calls out. Taishi turns around as Karine runs up to him and asks if he had some business at school. Taishi tells her that he had a meeting with the principal. Nishiyama then speaks up, saying that he has heard a lot about Taishi from Karine. Taishi recognizes him as a senior, and Nishiyama smiles, saying that it would be strange not to know him in this school. From his behavior, Taishi quietly thinks to himself that Nishiyama is not someone he particularly likes. Karine, smiling brightly, asks Taishi if he is going to rejoin the school. Taishi nods and apologizes for not telling her earlier. Karine becomes happy and says that now they can be together again. Noticing Karine's cheerful expression and slight blush while talking to Taishi, Nishiyama feels a bit jealous. he suddenly calls out to Taishi and challenges him to a match. This catches Taishi off guard and makes him think that Nishiyama is a bit strange. Even Perun seems to dislike him. After a while, the three of them are sitting inside a classroom. Taishi and Nishiyama sit across from each other with a table between them, while Karin sits to the side. Karin asks why they are doing this match. Nishiyama explains that if he can beat Taishi in arm wrestling, he will seriously pursue Karin. Karin is caught off guard and becomes embarrassed, asking him why he is suddenly saying something like that. Nishiyama replies that he has heard rumors about Taishi being incredibly strong. He admits that in a normal fight he would not stand a chance, but in arm wrestling he might be able to win, so he wants to give it his all. Watching him, Taishi realizes that Nishiyama is a bit unusual, but also someone who takes things seriously. Taihashi tells him that he does not need his permission to like Karin. Nishiyama responds that he only gets chances to talk to Karin during club activities, but she always ends up talking about Taihashi. Karin turns into a blushing mess trying to stop him from saying more, but Nishiyama continues. With determination, he tells Taihashi that he wanted to say all of this to him before confessing to Karin, because only then can he say it with pride. Hearing this, Taishi accepts and says that if that is the case he will face him seriously. With that, their arm wrestling match begins. Perun watches the whole situation happily, enjoying this unusual competition over a girl. Meanwhile, at the Akazuki headquarters, a board meeting is taking place. A man reports that the demand for high-grade mana pools is rapidly increasing, and securing them has become extremely difficult. At this rate, they may be forced to halt part of the production line at Akazuki Dungeon Pharmaceuticals. Karin's father, the chairman, listens carefully as the man continues. He explains that although they have been hiring high-ranking adventurers to secure mana pools, the sources are limited to higher-tier dungeons, so the supply has been steadily decreasing. The chairman orders them to find a way to secure a stable supply immediately, and to proceed with new dungeon discoveries and fresh contracts with rankers. The man apologizes and reports that several top rankers have recently cancelled their contracts and have started working with rival companies. The chairman acknowledges this and says that he has also received reports explaining why those rankers left. As the others in the meeting express concern and promise to do everything they can, the chairman unexpectedly takes responsibility himself. He says that this situation is his failure. He admits that in pursuit of the company's profits, he focused only on moving forward and kept pushing ahead without thinking carefully. Now that recklessness has come back to affect them. Remembering Taishi's determination, he stands up and declares that from now on they should not try to win people over with money alone. Instead, they must build trust sincerely and connect with others heart to heart. He says that only by honestly conveying their intentions can they truly move people's hearts. The meeting comes to an end, and everyone begins leaving the room while quietly discussing the sudden change in Karen's father's attitude. Meanwhile, he remains seated thinking about Taishi and finding him quite interesting. At that moment, he receives a call from his wife. His serious expression softens as he answers, returning to his usual caring self. He asks her if her tests are finished. He tells her that the meeting has just ended, and that he will head to the hospital right away. He then asks if she would like to stop by her favorite udon place on the way home. She happily agrees and tells him that she will be done soon, so they can meet in front of the hospital. She also brings up something she had mentioned earlier. He replies that he discussed it with Karin, but it seems Taishi is very busy, so inviting him over for a meal might have to wait a little longer. His wife says warmly that she wants to invite Taishi for a home-cooked meal as soon as possible. He responds that he will try his best to arrange it soon. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Taishisi and Nishiyama sit ready for their arm wrestling match. Taishisi turns to Perun, who is sitting on his shoulder, and tells it to go to Karin because he wants to win this match with his own strength. Perun agrees and climbs onto Karin's head. The match is about to begin. Nishiyama asks Taishi what he wants from this match. Taishi replies that even if he wins, nothing will change because he has already made up his mind. This answer surprises Karin. Taishi then adds that since Nishiyama challenged him seriously, he will also face him seriously. Seeing both of them so determined, Karin becomes flustered. She suddenly stands up and shouts at them to stop, saying that this is too embarrassing for her. She calls out to both of them, asking them to stop. After a moment of hesitation, both Taishi and Nishiyama withdraw their hands and stop the match. Nishiyama smiles and says that they will stop for today, but not because he is afraid or backing down. He adds that Taishi was not fully ready today, and as the captain of the soccer club he considers this a fair decision. Watching him, Taishi once again thinks to himself that Nishiyama is a very strange person. After a while, the three of them walk down the road together after leaving school. Taishi finds the situation a bit awkward since all three are side by side. Well, here Nishiyama feels like a third wheel. Nishiyama asks Taishi if he has re-enrolled in school. Taishi cheerfully says yes, adding that now he will be able to see Karin anytime. Hearing that, Karin gets flustered, wondering what he is even saying so casually. Nishiyama responds that he will also be seeing Taishi often since he has been spending a lot of time with Karin lately. Taishi smiles and says that he is ready to wrestle anytime, which makes Nishiyama pause for a moment, slightly taken aback by his confidence. Karin notices that Taishi seems more cheerful than usual today, and it makes her happy. She lets out a small giggle, Seeing the two of them so close and comfortable with each other, Nishiyama grows quiet. After walking a bit more, Nishiyama tells them that he has to go another way. Taishi and Karin say their goodbyes and Nishiyama also bids farewell, telling Taishi that they will have a proper match next time. As he walks away, Taishi thinks to himself that they did not really have a match today. Meanwhile, Nishiyama leaves them behind, wishing both of them good health. Behind him, Karin turns to Taishi and says that she wants to talk to him about something. Taishi immediately assumes that she is going to continue what she wanted to say the last time. However, Karin tells him that her mother wants to invite him over for dinner. Taishi is a little surprised. She adds that both he and Perun are invited and asks if he is free this Saturday. Taishi happily agrees, then awkwardly admits that Perun eats a lot. Karin reassures him with a smile, saying that her mother already said she will prepare plenty of food. Even though he agrees, Taishi feels a little disappointed, realizing that this was not the serious talk he was expecting. Still, he gathers his courage and decides that he will say what he wants to say anyway. He tells Karin that there is something he wants to tell her, which surprises her. Just as he is about to confess his feelings, a blonde girl suddenly appears out of nowhere behind him in midair and hugs him tightly from behind. She happily says that she has been looking for him and finally found him after such a long time, as if she has known him forever. Taishi is completely confused because he has never seen her before. The way she is clinging to him makes him extremely awkward. He glances at Karin, only to see her looking at him with disappointed eyes, saying that it seems he knows other girls too. Once again, Taishi gets misunderstood at the worst possible moment. Karin then turns and starts walking toward a car, saying that someone has come to pick her up and that he should enjoy his time with his friend. Taishi hurriedly calls out to her, trying to explain that he does not know this girl, but she does not stop. Meanwhile, the mysterious girl continues clinging to him and casually remarks that he is taller than she expected. She then looks at Perun, who is staring at her with a frown, and says that she is happy to see it again. Taishi notices Perun's reaction and gets even more confused. He asks the girl who she is. With a calm smile, she introduces herself. She is Norn, the dungeon goddess. The chapter begins 6 years in the past. In a dungeon, Norn finds an injured Perun suffering from the Reaper's curse, a dangerous condition that could kill it if it worsens. As she approaches, she recognizes Purin, remembering that it once stood before her as a small, crying, injured creature. Gently, she picks it up and uses her power to heal it. With a soft smile, she tells Purin that it has grown much stronger and cuter. She then blesses it with the power of a dungeon goddess. Back in the present, Norn introduces herself to Taichi, leaving him completely shocked. However, she quickly steps away from him after noticing Purin glaring at her with an irritated expression. She apologizes to Purin, explaining that Taichi is important to it. Meanwhile, Taichi is left flustered, still embarrassed from how suddenly she hugged him. He can't help but feel awkward as he tries to compose himself. At the same time, he starts wondering what exactly Emergorivstov Perun is to her and what kind of relationship they share. Suddenly, Norn mentions Perun's name, surprising Taishi as he wonders if she can read his thoughts. Hearing its name, Perun happily cheers. Norn then steps closer to Taishi and tells him that she has something important to discuss with him. Taishi, however, is so taken aback by her beauty that he struggles to focus. She then calls out to someone hiding behind the trees. A girl named Pell slowly steps out, shyly greeting Perun and saying that it has been a while. Taishi is surprised to see yet another beautiful girl, but his attention quickly shifts to Perun, who is glowing with happiness and cheering excitedly. That is when he realizes that they are Perun's friends. Seeing Perun's reaction, Norn explains to Taishi that Perun and Pell are best friends, though their story is quite a long one. Hearing that, Taishi feels happy knowing that Perun has friends of its own. Norn then claps her hands, drawing everyone's attention. She says that now that they have reunited, they should listen carefully to what she is about to say. She calls Pell forward and asks her to explain things properly, but Pell shyly refuses, shaking her head. Norn recalls how Pell was the one who insisted on coming here, so she urges her again. After hesitating for a moment, Pell gathers her courage and loudly blurts out that both Taishi and Perun are going to die. Surprisingly, her words do not get much of a reaction. Taishi and Perun just stand there completely dumbfounded. Norn sighs softly and says that it is not something easy to understand right away. She also praises Pell for managing to say it out loud. Then she asks Taishi if they can go to the temple, where she will explain everything in detail. At that moment, Taishi notices something strange. Norn somehow seems bigger than before. Norn then starts walking ahead and cheerfully tells Pell to transform. Pell becomes flustered since it was so sudden, and she is too shy for it. However, after Norn keeps insisting, Pell asks everyone to step back. In the next moment, Pell transforms magnificently into a huge purple dragon. Taishi and Perun stare at her with their mouths wide open, completely shocked. Norn then casually tells them to hop on. They arrive at the dungeon, and as they walk through it, Taishi suddenly feels a wave of nausea. The memory of flying at extreme speed comes back to him, and he realizes he almost died in the sky before. He quietly decides that next time he will definitely use Perun's skills to protect himself during something like that. Norn then tells them that they have arrived. Taishi looks ahead and is surprised to see the same temple where Perun had found the flower before. He turns to Perun and asks if that flower was given by Norn. Perun happily nods, and Taeshi smiles warmly. He thanks Norn, but she gently tells him to thank Perun instead. Pell then calls out to them, apologizing for interrupting and asking them to come forward. Taeshi agrees, and they continue walking until they reach a massive door. Pell shyly tells them that everything that happens beyond this point must remain a secret. She places her hand on the door and it slowly opens. Norn leads them inside. Taeshi is immediately mesmerized by the sheer size and beauty of the temple. As they walk deeper inside, they stop in front of a huge painting. Norn explains that the painting depicts another world and the origin of the dungeon, which shocks Taeshi. Seeing his reaction, Norn laughs softly and says that it is natural to be surprised. She then asks Pell to explain further. Though shy, Pell begins. She explains that long ago, in a world known as the Otherworld, there existed something called the Phantom Door. It was believed to connect two worlds, but it was also considered a forbidden gate that could lead humanity to ruin. In that world, people believed that beyond the door lay a place called Utopia, a paradise where all suffering would disappear. Driven by that hope, people rushed toward the door, even fighting each other to reach it. However, the truth was very different. The so-called Utopia was actually the real world itself, and in reality, no such perfect place ever existed. She says that the one who manipulated everything from the shadows was a being known as the Fallen Angel. This angel had already fallen and now wished for the destruction of the world itself. With a beautiful and bewitching appearance, the fallen angel captivated people, drawing them in and using them as pawns to carry out a plan to destroy the world beyond the door. When the other angels learned about this scheme, they tried to stop it. To prevent the connection between the two worlds, they created the dungeon as a barrier between the other world and what people believed to be Utopia. In doing so, they completely severed the link between the two realms. To make sure that no one could ever break through, they placed the highest-ranking angels along with powerful otherworldly monsters inside the dungeon. However, this solution came with a cost. The dungeon, which existed between the two worlds, caused instability and led to a collapse, bringing everything back to square one. Pell finishes her explanation a bit awkwardly, summing it up by saying that the dungeon is basically a cushion between the two worlds, a final fortress meant to keep them apart. Taeshi just stands there completely overwhelmed. There is too much information at once and he cannot process it properly. Seeing his confused expression, Norn smiles gently and tells him that he will understand it eventually. Then her expression turns more serious as she brings the conversation back to the main point. That reminder hits Taeshi again. He and Perun are going to die. Norn tells Taeshi that she is not sure if she should say this, but the fallen angel has been interfering in his life for a long time. Taeshi doesn't really understand, so Norn explains that the fallen angel is not directly attacking him. Instead, it has been influencing his surroundings and relationships, causing hardships and affecting the people close to him. Hearing that, Taeshi remembers his parents and everything he has gone through, including the people he almost lost like Karin. Norn continues, saying that despite all those trials, Taeshi kept going and made it this far. That was probably unexpected, so now he has become someone the fallen angel wants to eliminate. Taeshi finds it hard to believe and says that he hasn't even done anything. At that moment, Norn calls out to Perun, which surprises both Taeshi and Perun. Pell explains that Perun has become the strongest monster in the dungeon, and Taeshi formed a contract with it. Taeshi still looks confused, so Pell awkwardly adds that making a contract with Perun made him the strongest being in the dungeon. That also means he is the first human to conquer it. Taeshi stands there blankly at first, then suddenly realizes what she just said, and reacts in shock. Norn then says that it was originally impossible for humans to conquer the dungeon, so now that it has happened, the fallen angel won't ignore him. She also tells him that she believes Taeshi and Perun are strong enough to deal with it. Taeshi is about to ask if conquering the dungeon really means something important, but Norn cuts him off, agrees, and says that they are now going to the other world. A few hours before Taeshi went to the dungeon, Karin is sitting in the car thinking about what just happened. She wonders why she left Taeshi like that. She admits to herself that Norn was really beautiful, and starts questioning what kind of relationship Taeshi has with her. Seeing Karin lost in thought, the driver asks if she is feeling okay. Karin quickly assures him that she is fine. She then decides that the next time she meets Taeshi, she will apologize to him. The car continues moving down the road, but something feels off. A shadow of something flying can be seen following them from above. Back in the present, inside the dungeon, Norn tells Taeshi that they will be going to the other world. Taeshi reacts and asks if that means he will have to fight the fallen angel. Norn replies that if it comes to that, then Providence will guide everything. Hearing that, Taeshi goes quiet and looks a bit down. Norn understands, saying that it is natural since he is still just a high school student. Seeing him like that, Pram gently tries to comfort him. Taeshi looks at Pram and remembers his promise to protect it no matter what happens. After thinking for a moment, he makes up his mind and firmly tells Norn that he will go to the other world. Norn smiles slightly and says that if he has that resolve, then there is nothing to worry about. With Taeshi and Pram together, they will be fine. Pell then hesitantly speaks up and says that there are also some good things about going to another world, which confuses Taihashi. She explains that if Taihashi becomes stronger there, he will eventually be able to understand what Puron is saying. Taihashi asks her to explain more, so she adds that right now the gap in their levels is too big, which is why he cannot understand Puron's language. But once that gap closes, he should be able to understand his contracted monster, especially since Puron is originally from the other world. Puron happily reacts as if agreeing. Just the thought of being able to talk to Puron directly makes Taihashi feel excited and motivated. Norn then tells Pell to proceed since it has been decided that Taihashi will go to the other world. Pell nods and steps forward, raising her hand toward Taihashi. She shyly asks him to hold her hand. Taihashi hesitates for a moment but then gently takes her hand. Play closes her grip, and at the same time Norn offers a prayer, asking that in the name of the goddess blessings be granted to Tashi, and that he be guided along the path of his destiny. A light surrounds Tashi, and his status window appears in front of him. Tashi is at home, washing dishes. He casually asks Purun if it ate a lot, and Purun lets out a satisfied sigh. As he continues, Tashi recalls what happened in the dungeon, after receiving Norn's blessing. His status notified him that the dungeon goddess had granted him a new ability, a gate skill. Norn had told him that with this skill he can now go to the other world, and that he should use it when his own will guides him. Back in the present, Taishi thinks about everything that happened. He looks at his hand and then checks his status, only to get a little disappointed in a cute way because he is still just level 5. But then he smiles and walks over to Puron, thinking that no matter what he has to become stronger than before. Seeing him come closer, Puron also gets happy. After a while, Taishi sits under the kotatsu and opens his status window again. As he looks through it, he taps on a new option. An application opens, showing that he now has the ability to open a gate between this world and the other world. Taishi is surprised and asks Puron if the other world is really real. Puron cheerfully agrees. Seeing how happy Puron is, Taishi feels relieved and smiles, thinking that this must be something important for Puron too. He then says that they should rest properly for today, since being in good condition also matters. After that, the two of them brush their teeth together, take a relaxing bath and finally lie down on the bed. Cuddled up together, they slowly drift into a peaceful sleep. We see both of them somewhere in a dark place, standing against each other. They do not know what this place is, and that leaves them confused. Suddenly, Purun's side shines, and a bull shows up out of nowhere. That thing comes in hot and directly hits our little Purun before any warning. It does not stop there and throws Purun against the wall. Right there, its past memories flash before its eyes, and the whole scene is low-key brutal. Purun stays motionless and cries, reaching its little arms toward Taishi, but for some reason Argai is unable to help it, and Purun disintegrates before his eyes. Well, it is just a horrible nightmare both of them experience in sleep. He hugs Purun tightly while crying for it and begging, "Don't leave me behind." On the other hand, Karine gets ready to go to school. Her mom asks if she has asked Taishi about the schedule because her father is getting restless, but Karine has not had a chance to ask. She says she will ask him today. Taishi also wakes up and sees Purun next to him, already awake and freshened up, looking ready to go jogging. Taishi pats its head and says he had a bad dream, but seeing Puron next to him makes him glad. Just then he hears a notification tone on his mobile and wonders who could be texting him in the morning. It turns out it is Karen, and she has texted him to ask if it is okay for her to stop by his home after school. That is the shocking news he sees the moment he opens his eyes, and no, it is not bad news, but a flattering one for our boy since a girl is coming to his home alone. In the evening he returns home with loaded bags in his hands and wonders if he ends up going to another world. Will times like eating and laughing together with Karen be gone for a while? That thought really weighs on our boy, and yeah, it hits kind of hard. Just then Karen happens to pass by and gets out of her car. She was on her way to his home and asks if he went shopping. He agrees, saying he thought of making hot pot as dinner for the three of them. She gets excited and says she is looking forward to it, but then they both start blushing, and it is obvious they are so in love with each other. At the same time, they both say they want to tell each other something. Taishi asks her to say it first, but she also says the same. This is how they cutely keep insisting on each other, and the whole moment is sweet for real. Anyways, they sit on the bench, and Karin goes first by apologizing for the other day. She says she cut him off while he was talking, and then she suddenly left. He does not mind it at all, and replies that it was a situation where it could not be helped if she misunderstood. She insists that she wants to apologize properly, and believes she is still like a child, getting angry like a kid, and misunderstanding everything without even listening to the circumstances. That is why being able to look him in the eye and talk like this really makes her glad. She gives a goddess smile that could flutter anyone's heart. Taishi feels the same, and changes his expression to tell her what he wanted to say. He murmurs everything about the other world stuff in detail, and says a story like that is hard to believe. But Karine smiles and says there is no way she would not believe him because she has been watching him the whole time. Our cute little boy is about to burst into tears after hearing this. Bro is fully in his feelings, and honestly, who can blame him? Perun gets excited to see that the ship has finally started sailing. Karine quickly gets up and turns around to ask if it is okay for him to take her to that place called the Other World. Surprised, Taeshi asks if she is serious because going to another world is not something that simple. The other party is a fallen angel, and Lady Norn even said it is an extremely dangerous being. Karen grabs his hands and says that this is exactly why she wants to go with him. He has always been by her side and helped her whenever she was hurt, so this time she wants to be the one supporting him. Argai is clearly shaken by her words. She continues by saying that she understands it is dangerous and why he is hesitating to get her involved, but she believes there are things she can do too. She says she has been a normal kid just like in any typical isekai story, and has always been fascinated by dungeons and monsters. Just like real kids get hyped over Superman and Batman, she was always drawn to that kind of stuff. That is why she researched them on her own and kept notes. Before she even realized it, her room was completely covered with notes and maps, which is honestly peak weeb behavior. Her mom even scolded her and told her that she was doing too much. Sometimes she also wondered what she was even doing, but it was so fun that her heart would race and she just could not stop. When she was little, her father used to tell her a lot of stories about dungeons. Even now she still remembers his voice. That is why she has hope that she can grow stronger and be of help to him without dragging them down. Taishi hesitates and says that he does not have parents, so he can move freely, but it is not the same for her. He asks if she should not talk properly with her parents too. She agrees to talk with them and then invites him to have hot pot at her place today. Taishi gets stunned the moment he hears that invitation to her home right now. Bro is caught off guard for real. This is how Taishi ends up at Karin's home, where he enjoys a delicious hot pot with her family. After dinner, Taishi tells her parents about the other world, and at first they cannot believe what he is saying. Karin's father looks disturbed. He calls out Taishi's name in a loud voice and asks why he kept such insane information secret until now, and Taishi replies with an apology. Karin's father then realizes the dungeon has not been conquered yet. He also understands that if this information gets leaked to the public, it will cause total chaos. He suddenly starts laughing hard and agrees to keep it a secret between the four of them. Seeing his wild reaction, Karin's mom tries to calm him down and apologizes to Taishi, saying this man always acts like this whenever dungeons are involved. Obviously dungeons are every kid's childhood dream. Karin's mother snaps him out of that goofy act and reminds him that they still have to talk about Karin. Her father asks Karin if she is truly fine with this, and she says yes. Seeing how serious she is, he does not stop her, but he has one condition. Whenever they are in trouble, they need to rely on them. If Taishi can promise him that, then he does not mind if Taishi takes her with him. In response, Taishi energetically promises that he will rely on them. It almost feels like the father is giving his daughter to him and taking vows from Taishi, who is basically the groom here. Excited, her father says they already owe Taishi from before, and the Akazuki group will provide the activity funds. Taishi thanks him for that but says this is too much. Her mother cuts him off and says he has always been so earnest, but this time he should please accept it without hesitation. He saved her life back then and she has wanted to repay that debt ever since. Her father agrees too and says they will never forget that debt for as long as they live. The mood gets real for a second, and you can tell they mean that from the heart. Suddenly Taishi's phone rings and he steps aside to answer it. It is Tatsumi, who tells him that a lot of Dungeon Sea Bream came in today, but a regular who had a reservation could not make it, so he invites Tatsumi to come eat it since Purun will totally be satisfied with it. Tatsumi says they just finished eating not long ago, but then he notices Purun already drooling the second the fish gets mentioned, so he asks if it is alright if 3 more people come along too. Tatsumi is cool with it and asks if they are his friends, but Taishi says no, and calls them family instead. While saying that, he looks at Karin's family with a warm gaze, and yeah, that part hits soft. We see both Taishi and Karin have actually come to another world. It is a rough desert and Karin seems to be having trouble walking over the sand, so she falls over. Taishi extends his hand to help her get up, asking if she is okay. Akazuki. She reaches out her hand to get up and thanks him, then reminds him that before coming here they promised he would call her Karin, not Akazuki. Tayoshi apologizes for not being used to it, and says let's keep at it Karin. That sends her over the moon and her heart is fully fluttering. Anyways, before coming here they stood before the portal, and Lady Norn analyzed Karin with her magic that it is as if the lines between Tayoshi and Karin are connected from the beginning. If that is what the laws have shown, then they have no choice but to accept it. She granted protection to Karin, saying she has to stay by Tayoshi's side whenever he needs it, and this protection is granted for that very purpose. Coming back to our cute couple, a sandstorm is raging through the land. While stepping forward with difficulty, Karin asks him where this path leads, but poor Tayoshi does not know either, and says they should head where the wind is weaker and get out of this sandstorm. He also asks Purun to fire slime cannon so it can jump high into the air and check if there is anywhere people might be living. Cutie Purun right away does a slime cannon to jump into the air, and after a while rockets back at Taishi's face. With little cute hand movements, it gives him a direction and tells him something in a childish language. In response, Taishi lovingly squishes Purun by his face. Taishi then announces they should head over in the direction Purun noticed. After walking for a while, Exhausted Corinne suggests they should rest a bit, and Taishi agrees to take a break. He thinks this is even more exhausting because the scenery never changes. Suddenly Perun becomes alert, and then they see hyenas with burning ears pop up and rush forward to attack. Taishi tells Perun to throw slime bullets, so Perun makes little slime bullets from its kawaii body and throws them at the hyenas, which knocks them out right away without any extra trouble. Taishi asks Corinne if she is fine, and she agrees while saying she did not realize Perun is this strong. Hearing this, Perun goes over the moon and starts making cute expressions like it is feeling itself. Still, Corinne wonders why they suddenly attacked them. Then they hear a sound coming from behind the tree, and that makes them cautious real quick. It turns out there is a survivor injured behind the tree, and they quickly run over there. Karen carries that person in her arms and sees she has been attacked by hyenas, is badly wounded and needs immediate treatment. Taishi says they need to take her somewhere safe first. The mood switches up fast and now things get serious. If they keep going like this, her wounds will get worse. Suddenly that person opens her eyes, mutters something, and says she wants water to drink. She can barely breathe in that condition. Taishi quickly pulls out a bottle of water from his inventory and gives it to Karen, who is babysitting for the first time and already looking like straight-up wife material. While she gives water to the girl, Taishi finds it strange that she looks human but has cat ears. Later she regains consciousness and opens her eyes to see a couple worrying about her, but when she realizes they are humans, she becomes cautious and jumps forward to attack Taishi. Her hands come at him with sharp nails, and her whole vibe switches up real quick. Anyways, Taishi does not get hit and wonders why her attitude changed all of a sudden. She asks what humans are doing in a place like this. Taishi realizes she is talking about them and tells Corinne to stay behind him since it is dangerous. He tries to explain that she wanted water earlier, so they only wanted to help and have no intention of hurting her. He also tries to calm himself down, thinking he has Perun's defensive barrier around himself and can protect Corinne with it. The moment she hears about water though, her expression softens and she perks right up. Taishi holds out the bottle and says they have plenty of it so she can have some. She is still a little cautious, but her thirst wins, and she grabs the bottle to drink to her heart's content. She does not even suspect the water could be poisonous. Good thing the humans she met are our protagonists. After drinking 3 bottles of water, she says it is cold and yummy, Nyan, which makes our guys feel so proud, and they act like acting parents. She then apologizes to them for acting so violent earlier. Taishi says it is fine, and more importantly, they need to treat the wounds on her back and legs and first wash them off with water. She pushes back and says he does not have to use precious water so wastefully on her wounds, but he insists that healing her wounds is more important than water, and he wonders if washing them off is not enough, and if there is something else they should do. Then he asks Perun if he can clean up the wounds, and Perun nods in return. Perun jumps onto her back and uses a skill called Dissolve, which melts anything, and by adjusting the intensity it can also be used to seal wounds. In just a few seconds the cat girl starts seeing the amazing results, and it is honestly clutch. Taishi praises Perun, and then he plans with Karen to patch up the cat girl. After getting covered in bandages, she is full of energy again, and says they are so different from the humans her grandpa told her about. That reminds Karen to ask what her name is, and the kawaii girl replies that it is Nakoma. Both acting parents find that name way too cute, even though they are pretty cute themselves, and then they introduce their names to her. She asks Taishi if there is any water left, and he gives her another bottle, saying they have plenty of water if she wants more. But she pulls back and says she wants the water for her parents. Then she says she also wanted to give some to everyone in the village. Karen cuts in and asks if by any chance she was attacked by hyenas while looking for water, and Nakoma nods her head. Nakoma tells them that everyone is in trouble because they do not have enough water, and that is why she wants to save everyone. Taishi thinks to himself that she is still so small, yet she is trying this hard, and that really hits him. He asks Nakoma to guide them to her parents so they can help them. Puron and Karen have no problem with that, and get excited right away. Then it is decided that Big Brother and the others will help her. Even though he calls himself a big brother, he is already giving full dad energy toward her. After spending a night out there, they set out for Nakoma's village and finally arrive at the first village since coming to this world. They see the fence of the village, which is guarded by 2 armed cat guys. As those guards see Nakoma walking over here with humans behind her, they get cautious and ask Lady Nakoma to come their way quickly. They also ask the humans what on earth they came here for. Nakoma corrects them, saying Taishi and the others are not bad humans, and they saved her life when she was attacked by monsters. She says she will not forgive any rudeness, and little sis is dead serious. Those guards then apologize and think it is rare for Nakoma to bring back humans and insist so strongly about them. They do not quite understand, but they cannot turn them away without hearing the circumstances, so they let them get inside as Nakoma's guests. Later we see Nakoma embracing her mother named Rin, who cries after meeting her. Rin talks to Taishi and Corinne and says she heard everything about their story and thanks them for saving her daughter's life. Taishi acts modest and does not take it as a big deal, saying they just did what needed to be done. Just then, the chief of the catkin named Jeff shows up, who also happens to be Nakoma's grandfather. Instead of asking how his granddaughter is, he asks how she dares bring humans into his tent. This is the heart of the Catkin tribe, and he has no intention of letting humans inside. That is why he tells them to leave the village instantly, and bro is not playing. Taishi says they just wanted to help Nakoma. The village chief accepts their debt but says that is a separate matter, and he cannot welcome humans into this village. He requests them to leave at once. Hearing this, Nakoma breaks loose from her mother and runs to grab her grandfather. She says Taishi and the others are not bad humans, and they helped her when she was attacked by monsters. She absolutely will not forgive him for kicking them out. Her mother also backs her up, saying that if those humans were not there, Nakoma would not have been here. Not all humans are the same as those people back then, so at least let them rest until the sun sets. Chief grits his teeth and shouts at them to do as they wish. Then he turns around to head out and rest in another tent, since he would rather sleep on the sand than breathe the same air as humans in this place. However, he is just an old man who barks and does nothing, and he trips over his stick and falls down. Later, they put him on the bed and Rin brings a glass of water, saying they have plenty of water thanks to Taishi and the others sharing with them. She says it has been a while since they have had such a luxury. Taishi hears her calling water a luxury and thinks the water shortage is way worse than he thought. If it is being called a luxury, and that is honestly rough. He breaks the ice and asks how long the village has had a water shortage. Rin says it has been 3 years, and tells them that their village used to be a place rich with water, but one day everything changed. A giant flaming earthworm appeared. Since it arrived, it has hardly rained at all, and the rivers have grown thinner and thinner, which is a wild switch-up. About the water, Taishi asks her to leave this matter to them. He says they promised Nakoma that they would help everyone in the village. He quickly gets up with excited Purin and steps outside for a moment. There are people outside lurking around with bodies that look almost dead, just like plants with no water around, and the whole place looks down bad. Nakoma follows Taishi, and he reassures her that he will do something about it. He tells Purin to work on its part, so Purin jumps into the air and uses its thunder ability by activating an ultimate skill called Blessing from the Heavens. That skill lets the user make it rain by releasing steam from its body. As Purin uses this skill, thunderclouds cover the entire area and a strong rainfall begins. Seeing the rain, everyone around the village seems to get a surge of life. They brim with excitement, and the mood flips up real quick. The chief also opens his eyes on the bed and sees the rainwater outside. He wonders if he is dreaming. Old man comes out of his spacious room with tears in his eyes and wants to see this miracle with his own eyes. Rin quickly rushes to embrace him and cries out of happiness. While everyone enjoys the long-awaited rain, Taishi giggles and appreciates Purin for doing it right. Old man hears him and realizes those humans are behind this. Later, old man and the other catfolk bow before Taishi and ask how they should repay him. Taishi gets confused and tells them to raise their heads right away. Old man continues that he cannot thank him enough and asks who that slime on his shoulders is. Nakoma introduces our little slime as Purin, so old man kneels before it and gives it his deepest thanks. In response, Purin gets so excited and jumps into the air. Little dude is eating up the praise for real. A group of catfolk sees the thunderclouds outside the tribe and quickly runs into the village to check what is going on. It turns out the group is led by Nakoma's father Ren, who bursts into old man's room in worry because rain out of nowhere is an impossible miracle. However, the moment he sees Nakoma, he starts scolding her for going out without telling them and says he was looking for her everywhere. He thought she was swallowed by the sand. Nakoma looks sorry for what she did and says everyone was troubled because there was no water, so she thought if she could find a little she could be useful. Her father pulls himself together and softly tells her that she must never do dangerous things again without permission because her father and everyone else will worry. She promises back that she will never do it again, and then they warmly embrace each other. Just then his eyes fall on the humans behind them, and he gives the same shocked and disgusted reaction. He growls and asks why humans are in the village. Then old man pats his shoulder to calm him down, which leaves him confused because the same old man who hates humans is letting them stay in. Later he gets filled in on the situation and deeply apologizes for losing his composure, then thanks them for protecting Nakoma and bringing her back. Nakoma is enjoying Karen's soft lap, and that view would make any human guy jealous for real. Seeing Nakoma cling to her like that, Ren seems relieved and feels he can trust those humans. Worried about their hatred toward humans, Taishi ends up asking what exactly happened between them and humans. Ren explains that they were betrayed by humans. This place, El Dorado, was truly a paradise, a long time ago, with rich forests and beautiful rivers flowing through it. They also had frequent exchanges with humans and more than 50 companions. But one day humans brought that thing here, and the land got swallowed by sand and flames. That thing is a giant flaming worm. They lost many companions who tried to subjugate it, and now there are only 53 catfolk left. If things keep going like this, they will lose everything eventually, which is rough, no cap. Taishi feels hurt hearing that and looks at Nakoma enjoying herself with her mommy. Then he decides to deal with the root cause of the problem, not just the water. He gets up on his feet and asks Ren to let him and Purin take part in subjugating the worm. That way our boy can fulfill his promise to Nakoma. We see a party of catfolk and our guys heading out to subjugate the worm under Ren's lead. As they are about to enter the worm's territory, Ren tells them beforehand to get ready for battle. During the week before they challenged the worm, Ren drilled the basics of battle into them. That included physical conditioning, reading the enemy's presence, and battle formation. Since Kareen was lacking as a fighting force, he taught her how to both attack and defend using just a single spear. Man really put her through the boot camp arc. The scene shifts back to when they were planning the attack. Ren explains the enemy's attack patterns, and says the first thing it uses is a meteor attack. Scorching fragments rain down mercilessly from the sky over a wide area. Against that attack, the only option is to brace their defenses and endure it. Many of his comrades could not escape that attack. Dozens of male warriors got taken out by it, which is rough no cap. He also shows his opposition to Kareen stepping into the fight. On the battlefield, assuming someone would protect me is the most dangerous mindset of all. Taishi and Perun can protect a certain area, and that is why he wants her to stay in the village. But Kareen is a stubborn girl, so she does not change her answer and says she will be coming with them. She is aware she is weak, but she does not want to use that as an excuse to run away. If the enemy is that huge, then numbers are the only way they can fight back. Even if it is just a little, she wants to increase their strength and be of help to Tayashi and everyone else. Girl is standing on business and refusing to fold. Coming back, the flaming worm finally shows up and its head burns with fire like it came straight out of hell. It gives off scorching heat that feels strong enough to burn the whole planet. Tayashi and Kareen realize it is even worse than they were told. Ren takes command and says they may be scared, but if there is something they want to protect, then they need to move. Tayashi pictures Nakona and Kareen, then forces himself to lock in. As Ren rushes forward, Argai moves with him. Kareen also does not let this chance slip and follows them. Tayashi pours all his power into his punch, and strikes the worm, which gives them hope for a second, but it does absolutely nothing. The worm screeches back in response, and that call brings other hyenas rushing in to attack them. The others deal with the weaker monsters and leave Tayashi and Ren to handle the worm. Ren tells Tayashi and Kareen that the meteors are coming soon, so they need to hold their defenses and wait for the next signal. The worm forms a ring around itself and starts raining down a line of meteors over everyone. They try to hold their ground with their shields, but the attack is just too strong. Tayashi asks Purun to give everyone a defensive barrier. Hearing that, cutie Purun quickly moves around everyone and gives them a barrier. Thanks to that, they do not feel the heat at all. So everyone gives thanks to the little yellow guy. Ren notices there are more meteors than usual, which means the worm is getting serious and things are about to get real ugly. Karen also does her best to hold on until Ren gives his signal. But then her feet slip, she loses her grip, and falls down. She lets out a loud shout that worries Taishi, and when he turns around, Karen is not there. Ken wonders what kind of voice it was, and he turns around to look, but the sandstorm does not let him see anything. He worries their plan might fail at this rate. He tries to calm himself down and plans to stop that thing first with something that is basically do or die. He calls out to Taishi to cover him when he aims for that magic circle, but Taishi has lost it and does not respond. Ken gets annoyed at them, but this is not the time to complain. He uses his ultimate card and slams his spear to the ground, which pulls thunderous spears from the sky. He directs them at the rings around the worm, and somehow they manage to crash into them. He starts seeing some hope that it might work and calls out to Purun to come over, saying they can win together, even in this worst situation. Purun worries about its master, but it has no choice and runs back to face the worm. As the worm opens its wide mouth to chew the little slime, Purun activates a skill called Absolute Zero, which freezes the target with cold at an absolute 0 level. With this, the whole worm gets frozen with chilling snow. That makes everyone glad and excited, because now Ren has a chance to give it the final blow. He rushes forward and thrusts his spear using a skill called Thrust Penetration to break the worm into pieces. But only the cold ice breaks down and a light blue gem appears at the point where he thrusts his spear. The ice also starts melting down, which makes sense since the monster is covered in flames, and the worm starts moving again and pushes him back. Ren does not have the strength to hold himself and almost crashes down, but Purun stretches out and protects him from the fall. Ren thanks him and finds it strange that the combat power of the worm is on a different level from before. He is also sure it did not have that gem before, which means this has to be a huge discovery. If that is the case, then he will definitely make it work. Tayashi is still pathetically crashing out and shedding big tears while apologizing to Karen, saying he could not protect her at all, even though he thought he had gotten strong enough to do it. Ken stays on full guard and asks his fellow to cover him again because he believes the blue gem on the worm might be its weakness. But the worm is more pissed than usual, and swings its tail, knocking out almost every catfolk including Ren, and Taishi gets caught up in it too. None of them have enough energy left to get up again. The worm powers up to an even more dangerous level, and changes its purplish ring into a yellow electric one, which is bad news for everyone. Only Piran is still active, and it rushes forward to attack the worm. In response, the worm fires an electric beam, but Piran turns into a spiral drill, hoping it can break through the hard gem on the worm. As it starts drilling, the worm screeches and wriggles in pain. Even so, it smacks Piran again with its tail, but Piran does not give up and keeps charging in to attack. However, the worm hits it again with the electric beam and sends it flying back to Tayashi. Piran already has too much on its plate, and now it sees its master beaten up too. It enlarges into a big form to heal him, but Taishi has already seen how hard it fought and how badly beaten up it is. He starts crying and says he does not want to lose Piran too, then hugs its huge body tightly. Piran also has no choice but to cry. Just when they are ready to meet their end, Karine finally shows up in one piece. She appears in a new pretty costume and holds a fancy bow flowing with fairy magic in her hands. Then she fires an arrow at the worm, which shocks both Taichi and Perun. She tells Taichi to get a grip on himself. Girl really pulls up at the last second because our boy had already lost the will to fight after thinking his crush was gone and was ready to die right there. Seeing her alive, Taichi gets energized again and fills with relief. Perun feels the same, and little bro is fully back in the game. Karen reminds him of his promise with Nakoma and asks him not to give up. They have to fight together and then go home, so there is no folding here. She fires her arrow again and it is powerful enough to pierce the worm's body. After a while, Ren opens his eyes and takes a moment to process what just happened. He gets surprised to see there is a hole in the worm, and then he looks around and finds out Karen is alive. On top of that, she has a cool new drip on, which honestly catches everyone off guard. Karen tries to hold herself together and notices that the worm's regenerative power is absurd. This thing is really built different, and that is making the fight way more annoying. The scene shifts to when she fell down the slope and ended up in a hidden beautiful place beneath the desert. At that place, she heard Ren saying he found a hard gem on the worm that might be its weakness. She also happened to find the fancy bow right there. Right now, she wants to test what Ren said and suggests that she will stop the worm's movement while Taishi breaks the gem with all his might. He pulls himself together and decides to try again. Poor Perun shrinks back to its chibi form, and he apologizes for making it push so hard and thanks it for protecting him so desperately. As he embraces Perun with warmth, Perun extends its tiny hands and grants him power, through which a mithril sword pops up that changes its form depending on the owner. Perun goes into that sword and shrinks even more, so Taishi giggles and says he cannot afford to lose that sword. Karen sees he is not ready yet, and at the same time the worm retaliates with its tail and is about to hit her. But Taishi turns into a thunderous man and blocks the worm with just one hand, looking cooler than usual. He swings his sword and slices apart its tail, daring it to lay a hand on Karen. Then he goes to Karen and continues his shoujo side of the story by extending his hand with a smile and taking her hand as they move. She is pissed at the worm for putting them through all of this, and she says she is going to punish it properly. She fires her powerful arrow again, but this time it does not deal damage, and instead creates a huge cage that traps the worm and restricts its movement. Now it is Taishi's time to shine. He gets into the cage and hits it multiple times, then lands a final blow that cuts the gem into pieces. He wonders if he was able to keep his promise to everyone with this. Bro is just hoping this finally wraps it up. Well, he does not just cut the gem, but the whole worm into two pieces. Ren sees the whole fight with his own eyes and cannot believe they really pulled it off at the very moment he waited for his whole life. He drops tears of happiness. Karin and Perun are also satisfied that they did it together. Taishi notices the hyenas worrying about the worm and wonders if they wanted to protect the worm too. Anyways, the persistent villain finally disintegrates into the air. The cage also disappears, and the battle comes to an end. At the end, he obtains an item called Seed of Feelings. Back at the Catfolk village, they throw a party because of the excitement of beating the worm. Ren gives all the credit to our guys, saying that if they had not been here, nothing would have been left. Neither the village nor his comrades. He appreciates all three of them, calls them by their names and says they are heroes to them, which is a huge W for real. Taishi teases him that he finally remembers Perun's name. In return, Ren blushes and tells him not to say unnecessary things. Anyways, he cheers up and says this is a victory they all won together, so they should celebrate grandly together. The others cheer back with their drinks, and the whole vibe turns super wholesome. Suddenly, Karin hears someone behind her and wonders if it is a surviving hyena, but it turns out to be Nakoma, who is trembling and crying. The second she sees Karin, she hugs her tightly and says she was being a good girl, but she got worried about them. On the way, the sand and wind were too strong and she is hungry too. Karin understands what she wants to say and calms her down. She tells her that everything is fine now and that she did her best. However, Ren nags her and asks why she came here when he told her many times not to come because it is dangerous. He asks if she did not promise her father just earlier, and what she was going to do if something happened on the way. Well, he also has a valid reason to nag her, but she fires back and calls him a big dummy, which shocks everyone. He always tells her to be a good girl and leaves her behind when he goes to fight, and Taishi and Karin left too. She says she was worried about what she would do if they did not come back because she was so worried about them. She asks why they would not promise her that they will come back. She just wanted him to say I am coming home and make that promise with her. Hearing her heartfelt explanation, Ren quickly hugs her because she was so worried about her father. He properly promises her now that no matter what happens from now on, he will definitely return so he can hold her like this. He says the reason they were able to beat the worm was surely thanks to how much she worried about them. When they go back to the village, they should brag to everyone. He makes a pinky promise to her, and that gets her so excited. She links her pinky finger with his to keep the promise, and the moment is straight up wholesome. Taishi also looks glad and says that a father-child relationship is a wonderful thing. Then he remembers that he wanted to ask Karine about the bow. The catfolk cut in and show that they also want to know about the bow. They ask for permission and say they want to hear that story as well. Karen says she does not know if they will believe her. She explains that she fell into the hole in the sand, and when she came to, she was in a place that looked like a temple. The scene then shifts to some faceless figures. One of them reports to the boss sitting on the throne that the worm has been defeated. In response, he asks another figure if she has the next plan, and she agrees. Then we see some bullies walking through the street in the original world, and they complain that time is passing way too fast and school tomorrow is going to be a drag. Just then the female figure shows up in the alley and looks at them from behind. That probably means she is cooking up some evil plan again. Kasai alone keeps walking through the dark street and feels irritated to think it has not been fun in school, thanks to Taishi. Why he is letting that weak Taishi getting over him. He kicks a can by his foot, which is thrown at the mysterious woman who actually shows up before him. He apologizes to her for not considering her, and inwardly thinks she is a kawaii doll, and as shoddy as Sabrina Carpenter. Being a sharp woman, she pulls him towards herself using cunning words. She says his name, asking if he is Kasai, to which he wonders if they have met before. She denies but affirms that she knows him and came to help him, taking revenge. There is someone she can't forgive, and that's why she understands how much hurt he feels. She starts emanating dark aura and offers him to come to a place with her. She makes a creepy face and activates a skill called the Reaper's Invitation, through which an eye shows up which pulls out. Later he opens his eyes and finds himself tied up with chains and laid down on the magic circle on the floor. Panically he wonders where he is. Suddenly someone speaks and says he is lucky he is going to become a servant of an angel. Kasai resists back but in vain. That guy walks out to him and places his hand on his chest to check out his seed. He uses some strange power that rushes into Kasai's chest that feels more worse than period cramp, but that guy does not let him go. On the other hand, Karine takes everyone to a place where a huge hole is dug up, and it's where she fell back there. On Taishi's request, Perun goes in first to be used as a cushion. Then everyone jumps down following Ren. But surprisingly, there is nothing as Karine described which confuses her. She repeats there was definitely a temple here and she saw it with her own eyes. Suddenly Ren's sight falls on the book buried in the sand and he picks it with curiosity. He looks into it and finds some photos buried in. Low-key feeling like this is about to be important. Nakona bumps into him from behind and asks if he has found something, but he hides it behind and bluntly denies. However, she is not a kid, as he thinks and catches him lying, and accuses him of hiding jewels. To divert her attention, he points to other side and says there is a huge fish. Hearing about fish, she quickly turns around looking for it, and he decides to hide at this moment. But those photos slip out of the book and fall before her feet. They all look into the photo and see a human and catkin looking like they used to get along very well. Ren tells them the catkin in the photo is Minna, and the second other NPC's cats hear this name, they get surprised. Nekana does not know who she is, but Ren is hesitant to tell her. She happens to look into Necklace, those guys in the picture wearing, which shocks her because she has been wearing exactly the same necklace as them. Here is when Ren holds her shoulder and decides to tell her who actually Mina is. He musters up courage and tells her that the people in the photo are actually her biological parents. That reveal hits heavy. Like, yeah, this just got real. The scene shifts to the village where Elder and others are waiting for our guys. Just then, Ren shows up with his subjugation party and announces an exciting news that the subjugation of the worm has been successful. He gives fully credit to Taishi, Karen, and Purin, which raises their morale. Everyone in the crowd jumps into excitement because they don't have to live in the fear of the giant worm anymore. Ren bursts into crying and shows her deep thanks to our guys. Oldman also thanks them for not only solving the water shortage but for subjugation of the worm too. He does not have enough words to express his gratitude. Karen asks them to raise their heads and gives credit to Corinne and Purin for their hard work. Oldman happens to see bow that Corinne carries and asks about it. Then Ren explains everything that happened back then. Oldman seems to know this weapon is known as Arteria, the heavenly holy bow, and according to the legend he heard, it's a legendary weapon said to have been used by an angel in the past to protect something. It was true to its name as the legendary weapon. Its power was tremendous. It's said to have possessed the power to oppose even the mighty monsters of the demon realm. After considering all this stuff, Oldman wonders why such a weapon was found where the giant was. Ken says they were also curious and went to the place with Corinne where the bow appeared, but there was nothing else. Corinne interrupts and emphasizes that she saw a temple with her own eyes and the bow was there, but when she went back there was nothing. Oldman asks if she was just her alone back there. She replies yes, but sudden something hits her, and she recalls she was not alone there. There was someone else who whispered her to draw the bow without fear, and he was sure it will eventually answer her prayers. Karina gets confused, believing she was not alone there, and heard a warm, gentle voice. Taishi asks if that voice belonged to Norn, but she declines and says it belonged to a man's voice that she could not recognize. She felt like that person had known her for a long time, and that place had been waiting for her from the very beginning. She apologizes to the old man for bluffing senseless stuff, but he shakes it off, saying it was just a miracle that happened and she must have received the angel's blessing. Later, Ren steps outside under the bright full moon, and Rin also follows him and asks why he does not look happy. He should be a little more excited after bearing the worm. Taeshi and others even resolved water problem. Ren brings out old sad topic to ruin her excitement, and asks if she remembers Mina. Hearing her name, Rin goes pale. Ren continues that they found a photo of Mina and human named Orvis in the hole. He ended up exposing everything to Nakona, even though he promised with Rin to talk to her together. Rin does not mind it and realizes why Nakona seems sad since she came back. She puts her hand over Ren's hand and calms him down, saying Nakona is their child, and no matter what happens, she will be always their pride and joy. She asks if he remembers what he said when they first met her. He always wanted to protect Nakona's smile. Nakona grew up receiving more of his love than anyone else, and that's why he needs to cheer up. Afterwards, she plans to talk to Nakona together again. Nakona is also sulking outside under the bright moon, wondering about her biological parents. Nakona keeps staring at her pendant until the sun starts smacking her in the face. Everyone else wakes up too, and the first thing they see is the colorful delicious meal our Pookie protagonist cooked, so naturally nobody can stop drooling. Our boy really thinks he is Sanji's long-lost cousin, and says he tried making stew since there was plenty of water around, though he still is not sure if it will fit their taste buds. Rin gets emotional and says it has been a while since they had a feast like this, even if it does not seem all that grand to our guy. He tells them to dig in without holding back, since there is enough food for Perun too. After that, they all gather around and start filling their bellies like they have been waiting for this moment, their whole lives. Halfway through the meal, Ren asks Taeshi if he has decided where he is going next. Our protagonist says they are still debating their next destination, but he feels like following humans might help them find some clues. He also asks if he can take another look at human Orvis-san's book. Ren agrees and tells him he can show it to him after lunch. Karen notices Nakona is nowhere around and points it out. Rin also looks to the side and says she was just there a moment ago. Out of nowhere, Nakona walks up to them with luggage over her shoulders and a really sad look on her face. Then she suddenly switches gears, makes an excited expression, and thanks her parents for taking care of her parents. She says she has decided to follow Taeshi and the others, and then adds that she will leave her rice bowl and fluffy blanket to her mother, so she can use them however she wants. Rin and Rin are left completely stunned, looking like their brains just lagged out. As Nakona turns around to leave, Rin grabs her and asks where she thinks she is going. She struggles back and says her real parents are waiting for her, so she has to go see them. Ren nags her to wipe the sleep out of her eyes first, and asks if she even knows where her parents are. She cries and says she does not know where they are, but she feels like if she follows Taichi and the others, she might be able to see them soon. The old man cuts in and says he understands how she feels, but he also says her wish cannot come true, because her mother Mina is no longer alive. The story takes us back to when her parents become a fresh mama and papa. Orvis has an insane face for a dad and holds his child in his arms with warm feelings, while Mina asks if he has decided on a name yet. He gives their child back to her and pulls out a book titled A Book for Mom and Dad to Read Before the Baby is Born, which leaves Mina shocked since this is the last thing he would ever read. There is obviously no internet, so our guy is trusting this book like it is some legendary parenting guide. And honestly, when it is your time, even the most cringe stuff starts looking like gold advice. He mentions the name Ayu and plans to add Mina's name as well to form the full word Nakona. They are basically naming their kid like a menu item, but Mina is still glad he is putting so much thought into it. However, the universe does not let fresh parents live a happy life. The very next day, Mina suddenly collapses and starts vomiting, while Orvis stands there confused and sweating like a guy whose brain just blue-screened, holding a bottle of something. The old man looks at that and asks what he made her drink. He panics and says it is just a nutritional supplement, and he mixed it exactly as the book instructed before giving it to her. Mina struggles to breathe and keeps coughing up blood, but she still defends him and says it is not his fault, and maybe she just ate too much for lunch. She weakly says she really wanted to eat a warm meal together with their child, and as the blood keeps coming up, she loses her life, while Orvis is left frozen in shock and drowning in regret. The story returns to the present, and the old man continues that Mina dreamed of them becoming a happy family, but Orvis ruined everything. Nakona questions if it was really her father's fault since he was the one who named her. Taishi asks the old man if the human he mentioned who betrayed them was Orvis. The old man says they do not call it betrayal just because Orvis caused Mina's death, as that was only the beginning. As time moves forward, Orvis vanishes without a trace, leaving nothing behind as if he never existed. One day the old man wonders where he went and how he could leave such a child, when suddenly someone barges into the room and tells him about the situation outside. When they step outside, they see Orvis has turned into a ruthless creature, pulling off a betrayal worse than Reiner and Berthold, and he arrives with a flaming earthworm that turns their lives into absolute hell. He casually greets old man as flies in the air. Old Man wonders why Orvis has such ruthless expressions and what the giant thing behind him even is. Orvis looks at their reactions and feels like he is not welcome, even though he returned after such a long time. Old Man agrees and says he is not welcome after disappearing without even a proper farewell to Mina, only to come back dragging that giant monster with him. Orvis starts blabbering strange things, saying it is just Old Man's interpretation that everything has ended, and it seems like he genuinely does not get it. He insists Mina is alive and says she has only lost her physical body for the time being. By the grace of the great angel, she will regain her physical form. Old Man nags him for showing up again just to spout nonsense. Orvis pushes back and says he already verified it. Love with her like a full-blown mad scientist. That day after Mina collapsed, he realized he had reflexively collected her DNA. He says he had to keep her alive, so he poured all his knowledge into experiments and immersed himself completely, sacrificing even sleep. There was no room for error, but as long as he did not give up, there was still time, so he kept telling himself not to lose hope. However, Mina's blood only clouded and solidified meaninglessly, and in the end, it felt like there was nothing left he could do to keep his love alive. Then one day an angel answered his efforts and told him they could make possible things that current medicine and magic cannot solve. Realizing he has said too much, he suddenly shuts his mouth. He then demands to know where Mina is, saying he will be taking her with him. After that, he sets the whole village on fire and starts digging through it to find the casket where Mina is peacefully resting. He thanks Old Man for finally giving Mina back to him and says that thanks to that, the casualties have been kept to a minimum. He opens the casket and sees Mina calmly sleeping, which hits him right in the chest. While crying, he talks to her and says he will bring everything back to how it was, now that he is here. After placing a kiss on her head, he disappears into the air with her. The story then returns to the present. Old Man continues and says he does not remember much after what happened. With the fear that Orvis might return, they hurriedly gathered the surviving members of their tribe and fled that place, eventually managing to settle again in a new location. Even so, they can never forget the memories of that day. He says he has no way of knowing where Orvis took Mina or why he went to such extreme lengths, since he has no clue where he is. While they are deep in conversation, Nakona quietly pulls the book from Old Man's back and tries to read it. The language is different, and she cannot understand a single word. Karen steps in and says she can read it. Orvis wrote it in a poetic way, describing how happy he felt after Mina got pregnant. It was everything they had always wanted, but something kept bothering him. Karen tells everyone that the entire book is written in English, which surprises all of them. Meanwhile, Orvis has kept Mina's body inside a fluid-filled container, and notices that her skin has started to peel off, which deeply saddens him. Watching all his efforts fall apart, he loses hope and mourns, saying he has not changed the preservation fluid or the temperature at all. So why is this happening? At that moment, the same little witch who has been causing trouble for our guy shows up and tells him the preparations are complete. He calls her Persephone and says they do not have much time left. Even though their ideal utopias are different, he says the path they need to take is the same. He then decides he will obtain the blue flower and offer it to the angel. This time for sure,